I'm still in the mindset that I was in 2008 when Chris and I went bankrupt.
Which is, I need to get as
scarcity.
Yeah. Man, really?
Yes, that's the big insight
No
I've
way.
had during this pandemic. Yeah.
Shut up.
Shut up. We're going to talk about it.
No, I'm just saying shut up because that's crazy to hear you say that.
Well, yeah, because we shouldn't be talking, we should just be going. Well, you're recording all this, so you can put it any way you want.
Yeah, we could add it in here, but.
No, honestly, so if you get into a situation where you nearly lose everything, and look, I know you've been on your sister's couch, you've been down and out, you've had to reinvent yourself. We could be the reinvention twins, the two of us.
We could be.
Yes, and the thing is, though, is that if you get in that moment where you can't pay for groceries, where you think your car is going to get repossessed, where you can't pay for your kids' town soccer league, that is low. When as a parent, you can't provide what you want to provide for your kids. You don't ever want to be in that situation again. And so when I started to claw my way out of that, Lewis, and I started making money and Chris started getting his restaurant business back on the rails, I mean, we were still $800,000 in debt. It was 3 years worth of trying to make the ends meet. And when I gave that TEDx talk in 2011, that was 3 years after I discovered the 5-second rule. I had a full-time job with benefits, and we were still massively in debt. There were still liens on the house. And after that TEDx talk, which is what launched the speaking business, as people started to book me and I started making money, I was like a squirrel with a freaking nut, man. A dollar came in, I'm like, put it away, put it away, put it away,
Right.
put it away, put it away. And every time a speech came, you know what everybody said as I started to explode on the speaking circuit is, oh, speakers get hot. You're going to be the hot speaker in, 2017, and then take everything you can get. And I just
then they're
said
on to
yes.
the next speaker. Yeah.
And so I figured it was just a fad. And so I said yes to everything. And I have become addicted to being busy. And it is driven, when I'm present, from making an impact. But if I'm honest, it is mostly driven from that mentality from 2008, the fear that this could all disappear.
Wow. We both went through our own, I guess, identity shift and dream death or ego death in 2008 with me from football and you with your career and everything. To give people context, because I'm just going to roll with this from what you just shared. Mel Robbins has been a friend of mine for years. You've come and spoke at Summit of Greatness. You've been on the show a few times before, and you've exploded in the last 4 years, really, with everything you've been talking about, from speaking to the 5-second rule to the Mel Robbins show, which was a big hit. But then, in the middle of pandemic, that dream just ended, and we're talking about, a big revelation for you, which is scarcity. And this is something we teach all the time, to be in abundance and don't have a scarce mindset. But you're saying that you feel like you've been in scarcity still for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
In some way, obviously abundance of I can do everything, but in some way you felt.
Yeah. There have been modes where I've said yes to things, Lewis, because I've been afraid that all of my good fortune would disappear. And if I had to take a look at one of the biggest lessons from the pandemic that COVID-19 created, I call it the Great Pause, where all of us were forced to take a gigantic pause from our everyday life. And I need to qualify what I'm about to say by also saying that we have not lost a family member. We have not had we don't have anybody. My dad is retired, so we don't have an essential worker at a hospital or a grocery store. So I am speaking about the impact of COVID-19 without having lost a loved one. And so the Great Pause that basically had my talk show end abruptly. We got 5 minutes notice. We're told to evacuate CBS Broadcast Center. And all of a sudden, it was over. 139 people, no goodbyes.
Oh my goodness.
175 shows, no thank yous. We finished taping. I walked into the control room. My executive producer, Mindy Borman, turned to me and said they found COVID in the building. She started tearing up. Everybody, this has been remarkable. It's a wrap. We're the last show in the building. CBS let us finish taping. They're sealing off the building. I literally ran up
In the middle of a show?
Yes.
No.
This was March 11th. And we had already stopped down audiences. And so I ran upstairs to the apartment in CBS, which was like our green room. I grabbed everything that was possibly not nailed down. Don't tell Sony I took a bunch of the blazers. And I'm still a farm girl from the Midwest at heart. Grab them, go. Who's going to know that they're missing? And so and that was it. I mean, it was so awful because it felt like the biggest dream of my life, which was to host a daytime syndicated talk show and give advice to people 5 days a week on television who had no access to therapy, didn't have the time for personal development, make it entertaining, accessible. My whole dream, boom, in 5 minutes flat, done, no completion, disruption. That was it. And then 2 days later, Houghton Mifflin, which was my publisher for my next book, started laying people off, and they called me and said, we need to cancel the book contract.
No, I did not.
Yeah, they did. And then, well, in their defense, Lewis, I was a year late in delivering.
Okay, yeah. So if you would have done it on time, yeah, it'd have been out.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
You had a talk show to do.
Dyslexia strikes again.
Exactly.
And then it started to be like, this speech is canceled, and this speech is canceled, and this speech is canceled. And basically, once Microsoft announced that there were no events happening until June 2021, the speaking business, at least the corporate speaking business, is basically on hold for in-person events for over a year. And in a matter of a week, I saw my entire runway shut down. And what's so interesting is you and I have both, in 2008, like so many of your listeners, the first recession just rocked my life to rock bottom. And when rock bottom hits, you don't have to hit with a thud. Oftentimes when you hit bottom, you bounce. And that's where I think the power is, that when the world feels upside down, you always have the power to make it right. When one chapter ends, you always have the power to write a new one. When, you feel like nobody loves you, you have the power to learn how to love yourself. And if there's one thing that COVID-19 has done, regardless of whatever devastation it has caused in your life, is it has forced us all to experience the great pause. And I read that in a Medium article, and I loved that idea of a pause, because I think in 2020, our lives have gotten so fast and so digital. And when you are forced to pause and get present and to slow down, you are reminded of what's actually important. And what's important is your health. What's important is your family and your friends. What's important is whether or not you are taking care of yourself and thinking positive thoughts versus negative thoughts. The world gave us a gigantic experiment where we got to practice and get to continue to practice the most important skill on the planet, which is emotional resilience, the ability to face hard and actually be okay, the ability to face the uncertain and redirect your attention on things that you know that are certain. And so I am so grateful that we had this time, because when I think about my family, so we've got a 21-year-old, a 20-year-old, and a 15-year-old, we will never get these 10 weeks back again. It was a gift. As much as our two daughters who are in college were complete when they got home, it was a gift.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, for that generation, by the way, for them to learn, the generation where everybody gets a trophy, that the things that you love can be taken away like that. that there are things in life that are way more important than your prom or rush
Graduation
or graduation. Not to say that you don't deserve to mourn those things, but the perspective check that you got from COVID-19, and it really hit home because one of our daughters has a very close friend in college whose dad died, who's my age, and no prior conditions, nothing. And I think when change hits and it's personal, that's when the perspective shift comes. And so between COVID-19 and the fight for social justice that we're seeing with the Black Lives Matter movement and all of the protesting going on, it's been a really remarkable moment of time if you pause for a minute and you reflect on the opportunity of this moment.
What is the opportunity?
The opportunity is to unlock the power that's inside you to create a better future for yourself, for your family, for your body, for your mind, for your spirit, for this country, for this world, for your community.
Yeah. I always talk about, since I experience many breakdowns, whether it be a physical breakdown or relationship breakdown or family breakdowns, I feel like in order for us to really see clearly, we need to break down in a big way. It's hard to make big changes when things are good or when they're so-so. It's even when it's like, it's not good, it's hard to make changes. It needs to be devastatingly challenging for a lot of us. Some of us maybe can make changes all the time, but for most people, there needs to be some devastation or near devastation, either personally or close to you, to say, oh, let me reevaluate, let me pause, like you talked about, and start creating a better future for myself. Why do you think that is in human beings, that, if things are going bad, we won't change? If they're going good, we won't change, but it's almost like we need a massive breakdown, near-death experience, divorce, COVID, for us to see clearly to start changing?
Well, there's a really simple answer: patterns. So the thing about all human beings is that we are pattern learning machines. And if you feel stuck or broken, I guarantee you, while you feel that way, you're not. You have a pattern of behavior or a pattern of thinking that is broken. And we need to be disrupted because we love our patterns. And even people that I know, like
even when we're in pain, we love the pattern.
Pain's familiar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like you may be listening to Lewis and I talking, and you grew up in a super chaotic household. Maybe your parents argued all the time. Maybe your dad or mom were in and out. Maybe there was a lot of fighting. Maybe there was actual abuse. I don't know what was going on, but it was chaotic as hell. And so as an adult, you have vowed to yourself, you are not going to repeat that pattern. But what ends up happening is, because as a little kid, you absorbed the pattern of chaos in your nervous system, unless you go about the intentional work of breaking the pattern of chaos, you will create it in your own life because it's what's familiar. You won't understand. Why do I keep dating these assholes? Why do I go to these bosses that treat me like crap? Because you don't know what it feels like to be in a relationship with either a boss or a romantic partner or a roommate that is consistent, because for the first 18 years of your life, you lived in a state called, when's the next shoe going to drop?
Right.
And so wherever it is in your life that something is broken, there is a pattern that you don't see yet that is making you continue to stay in a broken situation. And so one of the things that you just asked, which is, why is a perspective change or losing a job or something like that that's so disruptive? Because those sorts of things, COVID-19 breaks every pattern.
Yes.
Black Lives Matter.
Yep.
Yes. Black Lives Matter breaks patterns of thinking that you weren't even aware that you had about privilege or being anti-racist, or what your Black colleagues and friends and relatives deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so having a breakdown is one of the biggest things on the planet, because what you get is you get a break from your own bullshit, and you can look objectively at where you are, and for the first time look ahead and say, well, what do I want to go create? And 9 times out of 10, if you're discouraged right now, if you've got financial devastation, if you're facing something, that is making this moment in time as hard for you as life was for Lewis and I in 2008 during the last recession, I beg you, ask yourself honestly if what you had is actually what you wanted. The thing that you just lost, that job that you bitched about all the time,
That relationship that was bad to you. Yeah.
Yes, or the friends you can't hang out with because it's convenient and you're in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, actually ask yourself if this is what you wanted, or were you just used to it? Being used to something, Lewis, I think is the biggest reason why people don't change. I asked my mother, I love my mother. I love my parents. I've been married 51 years, which is a feat because my mom was a teen mom. But I asked her once if she'd go to a personal development seminar with me.
What'd you say?
Are you kidding me? Why would I want to change at my age?
Oh, wow.
I might discover I hate my life.
Wow.
I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave that right there.
Right. I mean,
I think being used to what you have. I mean, I even our son is, so I'm here in Vermont at my mother-in-law's place, and our son is going to go to high school in Vermont. And so we're going to kind of split our time back and forth between my mother-in-law's place and our place in Boston, because God knows what business is going to be like. And, why would you need an office after COVID-19? Right. Another amazing thing to realize. Even that change, I notice my own agitation, my own anxiety coming up. Will I make friends? Will I like a slower lifestyle? What happens if Chris likes it up here and I hate it up here? My own mind, because it's not something I'm used to yet, is making up stories to cling to the old way of life. This is a moment in time, everyone, please. This is the greatest gift. The greatest gift is this moment of pause where you get in touch with what you actually want. And if you don't have the skills, for crying out loud, look around and take an online course, because if you need skills to prepare yourself for the thing that you want, get them right now.
What is the thing you really want then? You've gone on this grab chase of opportunities that have come your way, not in a bad sense, but it's like, here are a way for you to share a message and be on thousands of stages and do a talk show. And, it sounds like it was your part of your dream, but was it a dream of like, wow, this sounds amazing, or is this exactly what I want? Because I remember, I remember you texting me a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, saying, I'm working on the deal with Sony. I think it's going to happen. And then a couple weeks later, it's happening. And then I see all the announcement. It's exciting. I had a talk show on Facebook for a little while.
Yeah.
It's exciting stuff. And then you put your whole life into one thing, and then it's over. Now you have transcended where you were before because of the skills you acquired and the opportunities you created for yourself, and you've sharpened your coaching abilities and on-camera stuff. Everything has gotten better, but how do you, what do you think about that?
Well, so let me back up. 3 years ago, when I was last on the School of Greatness, I had just published the 5-second rule book. Your support was life-changing, Lewis. Like, you literally were the person. If I had shimmied down into the kind of barrel of a cannon, you freaking lit the match and shot me off.
I don't know about that. You did. You were crushing it on your own. Don't worry.
Well, so since then, what has happened, and this is one of the things that I have reflected upon during these last 10 weeks, that I've been off the road and I've been working from home, which I've loved every single second of. Everything that I have done since we launched the 5-second rule book was in reaction to things that were coming to me. So I never sat out and said, hey, the 5-second rule audiobook has been a complete record breaker. We clearly have an audio audience. Let's go pitch Audible. Right. Audible came to me, which is fantastic. I always dreamt about having a talk show, but I wasn't out pitching one. Sony came to me. In fact, the only reason why we got into courses, online courses, and we now have more than 500,000 people that have taken our courses online, was because Success Magazine came to me and said, let's do a course together.
I remember I was there interviewing you for it.
Oh, I hated it because what I discovered is I hate being told what to do. And so, but that gave me the idea, oh, we should do courses ourselves. And so this pause has made me stop and go, well, what do I really want to do? And the truth is I want to go and make the biggest possible impact that I can. And I want to collaborate with more people.
Yeah.
And I want to do events. And I don't want to be the CEO. I'm a terrible leader, horrible leader, the worst actually, because I'm amazing at coaching. I'm amazing at creating. I'm amazing at reacting. I'm terrible at managing people. I am terrible at managing a project. I have ADD. I have dyslexia. I'm a bulldozer when I get anxious. I
Very
hate it when people.
Mel.
I know we are.
Like,
That's how we'd kill each other if we were roommates or business partners. But I think understanding yourself is really important. And so there's a couple things that I've decided. Number one, I'm going to consciously create the next chapter.
And what is that?
And I'm still in the middle of doing it.
Yeah. But you want to do events, you want to do these things you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes. And I want to collaborate more with a wider audience of people. And I want to build a brand bigger than Mel Robbins.
Yep.
I don't want it to just be me. I want to build a platform-based business that reaches more people. Because here's the thing that got me through kind of the loss of the talk show and the way that I think about things that I hope helps if you're listening and you're kind of struggling with something. I believe, and I went into the talk show saying this to myself because there's a 99% chance based on the history of people that have tried to have a daytime talk show that it was going to fail. And I went in there saying this, I'm not doing this because I expect to have a successful talk show. I'm going to put 1,000% into it so that I have no regrets and I wouldn't change a thing. But I'm going into this because I know that there is a skill, a person, or an experience I am meant to have that will help me for the next chapter that I can't see coming. And the experience was, number one, meeting Mindy Borman, who is my executive producer, now my business partner and CEO. And it was also in working with a team of 130 people and finally being in the right seat on the bus, Lewis.
And not having to manage everything, but being in your lane.
Yes.
And having a team and you not being the one doing everything. I know that feeling.
Well, it's not even that I was doing everything. It's that I didn't have anybody managing me.
Right. And so your mind is going to go into like opportunity, as opposed to focus mode. Right.
And so if you ever wonder why it feels like we're running in circles, it's because I'm the one leading us in circles. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a very hard thing to spot when you're in the middle of it.
Yep.
But when I got into a machinery that operated in a way where I was in the right seat on the bus, it was absolutely liberating. And that was the biggest gift of all. And then the third thing is, I think the daytime talk show and being face to face with your audience and having such a big daily audience, it was really amazing to be able to have an impact on a large number of people who feel forgotten because they're a little bit older, if they're still watching TV. And a lot of the folks who are still watching TV at home during the daytime do not have the resources that you and I have, and may not have access to therapy or live in a community where it's stigmatized. And so having a platform that was reaching people that really appreciated this kind of content, and also working with a really diverse range of experts, absolutely incredible. So I felt like I was organizing a killer dinner party conversation every day with real people's problems and the world's best experts. And so you kind of do a similar thing here on your podcast. So I know I want to continue to do that, but I'm in the middle of creating it. So if I said anything other than I know it's events, I know it's more courses, I know it's collaborating with more people and getting outside my comfort zone. And I also know that as I set out to write down what I want to do, there is so much freaking fear that I have.
Why is that?
Because I still feel like I'm not worthy. I feel like I don't deserve it. Like it's old bullshit. And I think that's the other thing about patterns, everybody, is just because you identify. And for me, as a kid, for whatever reason, I have my own version of feeling invisible and feeling like I'm not good enough. And so my way of coping, both with my anxiety and being a survivor of sexual abuse and um, and wanting love, which we all need, is I was like an overachiever. And so I'm the kind of person that's super busy and a go-getter because it got me attention. And if I was the one that was super busy and achieving, I not only got praise, but it also insulates you from other people not picking you because you're the one in a leadership role doing the picking.
Right.
And so there's a part of me at the age of 51 that is realizing that, you know, these feelings of feeling unworthy and this hyper drive to try to achieve, it's all coming from a place of feeling inadequate or like what I'm doing is not enough. And
still,
so that's
at 50, having the talk show, having a best-selling book, having the Audible originals, having the platform everywhere, having the impact, it still don't feel, being the most booked female speaker in the world, like you still don't feel.
It's so stupid. It's annoying. And human beings are annoying. We are stuck with this wiring. Like if you think about it, like all of the crap you believe is probably a hangover from age 0 to 10. That as adults, we walk around thinking the same stuff we thought as kids. And I can't stand that I feel that way, but knowing it, it allows me to catch it before it stops me from having an event or writing that next book or taking a risk.
What do you think the biggest fear is? Because you say not worthy or not feeling enough. Is that?
I mean, it's just people liking me. I think like being a people pleaser.
Yeah, we're so similar in every way. It's crazy. It's great.
I want people to like me.
What happens if they don't like you?
It's lonely, dude.
What happens if
the problem
99%? What happens if 99% of people like you and 1% doesn't like you?
Oh, I don't give a shit about that.
Okay, but if it's like
honestly,
if it's 50-50,
I think that the work that we all have to do, every single one of us, whether you bulldoze, whether you people please, whether you avoid conflict, whether you're impulsive, whether you yo-yo your decisions, whatever it is that is your pattern, you know, the constant trashing yourself. I think the journey of your whole life is figuring out how to truly like and love yourself.
It's so true. I mean, I remember this was my whole life, was never loving myself and needing to go prove to others originally that I'm worthy. This was happening in sports and business until I started opening up and accepting myself and taking off the mask when I turned 30, talking about sexual abuse and just kind of saying, screw it. I don't care what people think about me anymore. This pain inside is hurting so much. It's not worth living with it. So I'm going to start sharing and allow myself to heal and allow myself to finally love myself. And it's so funny that we could just write a book with 2 words that says love yourself. And that's all the book needs to say, because a lot of us never remember to love ourselves, remember to acquire skills, which are important, remember to love other people, remind ourselves to take care of our health. But if we don't love ourselves internally, if we don't think we can give ourselves a hug because we're not deserving of it, then none of this stuff is going to matter to the point of we're always going to need to do more to feel something.
Right.
It's
well,
crazy.
Nobody teaches you how to do it. And see, that's the thing. And you know, I mean, if you look at human development, we're the only species that literally can't survive without another human being taking care of you. And so we are biologically hardwired to bond with other people. And that is from the very beginning of when you come out, bonding with somebody else and making sure they pay attention to you is your survival imperative. So you are
Right.
born needing somebody else. And I think what ends up happening is there's never that kind of clean break or pass off between needing your parents to take care of you, needing your friends' approval to fit in, to truly having ownership over giving yourself what you didn't get, giving yourself what you needed. And that's the piece that I've been doing a lot of during
Wow.
the great pause, is slowing down, because so much of my busyness was fueled by, praise me, love me, am I doing enough? Please tell me I'm doing okay. Okay, I can breathe now. I'm okay now. And when I slow down, and maybe it's a function of the anxiety, that's when things get scary, because that's when you've really got to be with yourself.
Hmm.
And so it's in getting off the road, slowing down, recognizing that I'm super grateful for all the opportunity. And I know the work that I'm doing makes a tremendous impact. And I particularly love hearing from mental health practitioners that the 5-second rule, I've heard from so many people in inpatient psychiatric wards, Lewis, that use the 5-second rule in the videos we put on YouTube in their group counseling sessions
Wow.
with people. And knowing that it is helping so many people, it is like the greatest gift on the planet to know that it's making a difference. But I know that in this next chapter that I consciously create, I want to have more fun. I really
Right.
want to love the process.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it so hard on myself and be gripping everything so tight. And it's
Mm.
really easy for me to see it in other people because I know what it feels like in here. I'm working hard to break the patterns that still hold me back. And the big one that holds me back is bulldozing. It's literally when I start to feel any level of tension. This is particularly true in my marriage. I'm married to a saint. Thank God Chris Robbins meditates every morning. It's the only reason why we've lasted 26 years. It's how he puts up with me. When I feel my whatever emotion rise, I immediately raise my voice.
Wow.
It's how I assert power in the relationship. And I am so committed, Lewis, to breaking that pattern
Wow.
and being a more fun person to be around and a kinder person to be around.
Wow. That's beautiful that you're getting this during the pause. What do you
Yeah.
think was the biggest lesson you learned about yourself during the talk show experience before the pause? Because you covered so many topics, and you had to research about so many things, and you brought so many people on, experts, but then just everyday people going through their challenges. What's the thing that you learned that was new? Because this is something you've been studying for years and talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And was there anything new that you were like shocked about? You learned about yourself or about human behavior?
This is going to be well, first of all, there's two things. The first one, I'll make it deeply personal, and the second one will be a thing that I learned.
Okay.
The talk show experience was almost like it's weird. It almost feels like it didn't happen.
Really?
Yeah.
It was your
Maybe
whole
it's
life for like 2 years.
yeah, but 175 shows. It was super intense. It was almost a spiritual experience because I had dreamt about it for as long as I could remember. And I stepped onto that talk show set with such a level of mastery.
Mm.
And the reason why I had a level of mastery is because I could look backwards at my life and see that I had been heading to that moment for my entire life.
Mm.
That the ability to create trust and take a complicated amount of information and get down to the human connection immediately, that began back in 1994 when I was a legal aid attorney doing criminal defense work in New York City. My ability to understand what victims of domestic violence go through goes all the way back to 1986 through 1988 when I was a crisis intervention counselor volunteering on a domestic violence hotline.
Wow.
My ability to read a teleprompter had to do with being at CNN. My ability to work 18-hour days was a function of the reality TV show world. My ability to relate to somebody who had lost everything was a function of what Chris and I had gone through. My ability, like just everything all of a sudden was like, and it's why I can say with such urgency that you have to have faith that this is happening for a reason, that this is leading somewhere. And if you only just stay awake and you pay attention to what your body's trying to tell you in those moments when you have a signal come up. Like I think right now, aren't you so happy you're a digital entrepreneur?
I've been speaking about building an online business for over a decade. And so now I'm like, oh, I know what to do. And everyone's coming to me for the solutions. And our team is digital. So we are virtual. So we know how to run everything. And we do Zoom meetings every week already.
Yes. So, and so I literally, when I think back 3 years ago where I was like, saw one of your videos or Gary's videos or somebody, I'm like, oh, I just need to start filming the book lines at these. And it was a moment. It was this little amount of wisdom inside of me that I listened to. And I am telling you, that is the power. You got to tune out the noise and you got to learn how to make what I call a quiet decision.
Yeah.
A quiet decision where you and you hear what your heart is urging you to do. And so I sit here because aside from the talk show ending and the book getting canceled, I was literally like, okay, so online courses, we do Zoom, we've got this amazing social media platform, we'll figure it out. And luckily I was like a squirrel with a nut and I put a lot of money away because I was not going to make the same mistake twice.
Smart. Yeah. And you've been doing a lot of research and you've been diving in and making sure you make the right decisions. We've been texting and chatting about different stuff. And
so the biggest insight though, is we did a show that had, I can't believe I can't remember the gentleman's name. He's from Washington, D.C. And it was a show about heroin and heroin addiction, or the opioid addiction and heroin, and how this has been an epidemic in the Black community for 20 years. And it only became a big national story because opioid addiction got linked to heroin abuse and it became a white problem. And so he came on the show with 3 former addicts. It was the most profound show that I have ever done because I learned something that I never even understood as a public defender. And that is living in poverty and living with systematic racism creates trauma. And when people experience trauma in their bodies and in their nervous systems, your response, particularly if you have no resources or treatment, and the vast majority of us do not get treatment for the trauma that we experience, most of us want to numb it. And he connected the dots between the chronic trauma that the folks that he was serving had experienced growing up in extreme poverty, around violence, dealing with racism and bigotry and violence, and the natural inclination to reach for something to help you numb that pain. And he connected the dots between deep emotional trauma and addictions that result in a way that I had never heard anybody explain so eloquently. And it was such an eye-opening experience.
How do you think we heal trauma if we don't have the resources to go to therapy or do workshops or whatever it may be? Even if we do have resources, we don't have the courage to put ourselves out there. How do we start to heal trauma within our body?
Excellent question. So we did a whole project for Audible Original called Take Control. That was all about, the thesis was this: any area of your life that you're stuck, I am willing to bet everything I have that you have a trauma pattern from your past that you've never healed. You got a boss that is abusive, guarantee you this has to do with a trauma pattern from your past. You can't succeed in the areas you want. You can't lose the weight. There's some pattern from your past. So the first thing is recognizing that you actually experienced trauma. And I am a huge proponent, as so many people are, of widening the definition, because I think up until about 5 years ago, most of us thought that trauma just meant, okay, you were in active duty, or you were in a huge accident or incident that was highly traumatic, or you survived some sort of physical, sexual, whatever abuse. Trauma is just about any kind of experience that you witness or you absorb that has your nervous system light up on edge and start warning you. So if you've ever had, you could have a critical parent and you just brace for them. You could have a parent that drinks like crazy and you brace at 5 o'clock because you know they're coming home. You could have been abandoned by a parent, or have a parent that was mentally ill, or have a parent that was so on your ass because they wanted you to be a pro football player. And so you were constantly on edge. It's when your nervous system fires up to a state of alert that now gets programmed into your body as a response. There's a reason why so many couples at 5 o'clock at night start bickering. And it has to do with the fact that at 5 o'clock is typically when a lot of parents 20 years ago were coming home from work. And that's when the arguing would start. And so what happens when you witness that or you feel it is, as a kid, you're now in a state where you're on edge.
Wow.
I see you rocking in your chair.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, I mean, I just remember, it's funny. There's a lot of good things that usually happen to our childhood, but we just seem to remember a lot of the bad stuff. And it's because it's,
why, right?
Because the trauma, just like in your nervous system, I guess.
And also your mind is wired in a way to prioritize the negative, because your mind defaults to negative. So you got to build up the programming to positive.
Exactly.
This isn't just woo woo. This is actually science. People.
I know. So I remember, the memories of the past. I always have to remind myself of all the positive stuff that, my parents did all the time and what they were going through and giving them grace and all these different things. But I remember, when my dad would get home, you didn't know what type of day it was going to be for him. It was like either a thunder coming through the wooden floors with his wooden shoes and like being angry and upset, or it was like the loving father that would take me out and play catch in the backyard. So I have to constantly remind myself of like the positive, which I'm certain it was 90% of the time was good, but those 10% of the time, creates that clinching mode, like you said.
Well, let me explain what happens. So there's a really interesting concept called ghosts in the nursery. And so trauma patterns get automated because they're not experienced in your brain, they're felt in your nervous system. And so it's why you can have a pattern from your past, but be completely unaware that it's running your life right now, because it's stored not in your conscious thought, but in your nervous system. And you feel it in your body before it even gets into your head. And so there's this concept called ghosts in the nursery, which basically means there's all kinds of that goes on when you're little that you may or may not remember in your mind, but your body remembers it. So for example, if you had parents that were just stressed out and they come home and they've been busy and you're sitting there playing on the floor and there's toys everywhere, and mom or dad's reaction to a mess is to scream, that creates this kind of thing in your nervous system. Now, you may not remember that episode that happened on May 17th, 1972, but your nervous system remembers what it's like. So fast forward, you're now 51 years old and you walk in the house and there's a mess everywhere. And even though you have said, I'm not going to bulldoze and yell at anybody, my body recognizes the situation. So what do? You repeat the pattern you saw. And so what I'm working on right now is a pattern that is encoded in my nervous system. I was trying to create a video 2 days ago for Share the Mic now. Trying to create a video, and I'm like doing take after take because I want to get it right. And my daughter comes waltzing into the room and was like, how long are you going to be doing this? And I was like, can't you see that I'm working? I literally like screamed at her. And she looked at me, Lewis, and she goes, you have a real problem.
Wow. How old is your daughter?
20. And I said, I calmly said, you're right, I do. When I get interrupted, I lose control of the response. And I'm working so hard. And the way that and I'm clearly not mastering this yet, but the way that you do it is as you feel it rise up, you have to, you can use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can use just take a quick breath. You can notice the pattern, and you've got to create a pause between the emotion rising up and the reaction that gets automated. And for many people, the reaction, Lewis, is to run away. It's to leave the room. It's to avoid the confrontation. It was just easy, oh, hold on, let me let the clock go.
Even though you hate being interrupted by anything, this is a great interruption.
See, I did. Like I didn't do the bulldoze. I was calm because it wasn't a human being. I'm only mean to human beings. A lot of people run away. They avoid conflict. They say it's just easier. But if running away and avoiding conflict continues to create a pattern where you feel invisible and your boundaries are tromped on, that's a pattern. And here's the other thing about patterns. Running away and being quiet might have saved you when you were little. Because if you were quiet and out of the room, you didn't get hit, you didn't get yelled at, you were out of harm's way. So when you were little, it was a genius pattern because it protected you. But the issue for adults is that, again, we walk around with the patterns that we created when we were 8 years old in different situations than we are in now. And now we are completely a robot to these patterns.
I love that you had a great tweet the other day about boundaries, because as individuals, both of us who try to help people break boundaries, try to break their mindset that's holding them back, try to get them to become greater than their past, all these different things. You wrote a post that said, your boundaries are there to serve you. As you grow, so will your boundaries. What boundaries do you need to set up in order to help yourself grow? Why are boundaries important when we also have the mindset of like, you should be breaking your boundaries all the time?
Well, I wouldn't say that breaking your, like, I don't call the obstacles, or I call them excuses. And so I think the hardest boundaries, honestly, are the ones to set with yourself. To not drink during the week, to not tolerate the bulldozing and immediately apologize and try to do better, to not waste hours on social media, like all the things that the small promises you need to make in order to create boundaries with your old patterns and your excuses. To me, the hardest boundaries to set are those with myself. What was the question again? We encourage people to break boundaries. They feel like they're limited, but you talk about your boundaries are there to serve you. So obviously it's a different type of boundary, but so here's the thing.
What boundaries do you need to help yourself to protect yourself, and which ones do you need to grow past that are holding you back?
I think that the definition with boundaries that has helped me the most is understanding that boundaries are for me, they're not for you. And the single biggest mistake that we make in any relationship, particularly romantic ones, but also work-related ones, is we do not express what we need.
That's so true. My girlfriend was telling me this the other day. She's like, I really want you to tell me what you need and when you want it, and feel comfortable and confident saying it. And for me, I go back into trauma of past, like when I used to say what I want and need and it didn't get met, I'd get let down, my expectations, I'd get hurt. So I was like, screw it, I'll just do everything on my own, which leads to resentment or whatever else.
Yeah, how's that working out for you? It's like, so Lewis, that's an example of 8-year-old Lewis created a pattern that worked when you were 8.
Yeah.
But now that you're in your 30s and in a relationship that you really care about, you've got to identify the pattern and break it and replace it. And the good news is any pattern can be replaced.
Yeah.
Change isn't personal. It just feels personal. Change is just about identifying patterns and replacing them with new ones. That's it. And it'll take a little while because they're encoded in your nervous system, and your default is to just do it yourself. But you cannot, as a rule, punish other people for you didn't communicate.
Right.
So I'll give you the perfect example. So Chris and I have been married for 24 years. And when I was before the talk show and I made my living mostly by, doing 100 speeches a year, I would be on the road 150 days a year. And when I would come home, there was always something that pissed me off.
Like what? Like, the trash isn't taken out, the clothes are here, or is it something else?
Oh no, I'm way worse than that. Are you kidding? I would walk in after being gone for 5 or 6 days, and there on the island in the kitchen was a vase that had dead flowers, the ones that I had bought for myself a week before. And it was as if everybody in my family had been walking around the island for 6 days as if there was some dead flower sculpture in the middle of the island. And so I would come home, and first of all, the only person that's really excited to see me is a dog. And my family did sit me down at one point and they said, you realize when you're not here, we have our own lives. So
Wow.
You don't put your lives on hold while, for us, and we're not putting our lives on hold. So it's not that we're not excited to see you, but we're not organizing our whole lives around when mom comes home.
Right.
Which is actually really good.
To be like the dog,
the dog,
excited and running up and jumping in your arms and kissing you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they don't. But I think that's cool because that means that they're independent and doing their own thing.
They've set boundaries.
They've set boundaries with me. Perfect. So for probably 6 months, I would get pissy and I would walk in and put my bags down and I grab the flowers and I demonstratively, how many times has everyone done this? Throw them out loudly, like, are you
everyone
getting
hears
my
you.
Communication? Yeah, I'm getting my communication. Just throwing these dead flowers out, communicate to you that you should buy me flowers. Like, I'm not saying that, but that's what the body language is, right? How dare you? I have been off. I've been in 4 cities, and then you become a mart. Like, ugh, I'm disgusting when I tell this story. But this is it. This is like, so.
Well, I see you've got some lovely flowers behind you that look alive, so that's good to see.
Oh, that's nice. So, Lupin. So, I do love flowers. So finally, I just said to Chris, you know what would make me feel amazing is if when I came home, you had just bought some flowers. Just go to just when you're at the grocery store. You don't have to order. Like I'm saying, buy the $5 pack of half dead tulips, just something. Okay. And then he said, why? And this is the most important part of expressing. And look, you don't have to give an explanation if you're trying to like cut off a toxic person. But if you want to express boundaries with somebody because you want them to understand you more deeply, give them the why. I said, because it makes me think that you are excited for me to come home and that you knew I was coming because I'm starting to feel forgotten. So underneath the anger, Lewis.
Wow.
Was hurt and feeling like I didn't matter. And so I'll be darned, I walk in and there they are. And I literally feel so seen. And, the other thing to do is, and like another thing for us too, is like Chris and I learned on my talk show because Chris was on it and we did a show all about men and what men think and the secrets they keep.
Oh,
and
wow.
I learned for the first time that my husband prefers to have sex in the morning.
I think a lot of men do.
I didn't know that. Well, see, I didn't like it because I don't like bad breath in the morning.
My girlfriend says the same thing. My girlfriend says the same thing.
But I'm like, why didn't you tell me? And the reason why is because we're so funky about asking for what we need. We're so afraid of getting rejected or denied or whatever, or being vulnerable in that moment. But the greatest thing that you can do is ask for what you need. Your friends need to know what you need. Your lover needs to know what you need. Your kids need to know what you need, because then they can show up in a way where you feel seen, and then they're gonna feel incredible.
Yeah, and you can't expect people to know what you need, or them to know what you need by communicating it through anger and this frustration of, whatever, like you throwing away the flowers. That way of communicating also is extremely unhealthy. I'm to blame there as well. And I think that's not a healthy way of creating love within a relationship, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a loved one.
But here's the thing. You want to know why? Let me let everybody off the hook.
Yeah.
Because here's the reason why this happens. And this is what I want everyone to know what we're up against. So Lewis, as you and I sit here talking about the flower thing, right? And you got to communicate your boundaries. As we're having this conversation, we are present and we're using the thinking part of our brain. When I walk into the kitchen,
You're not,
I am not thinking.
yeah.
I am in the emotional, traumatic, nervous system, robot part of my body. And that's where your feelings and your triggers take over.
Yeah.
And if you can start to identify the bulldozing, the anger, all that stuff, you will literally change your whole life by just changing one or two patterns. The other thing, and you asked me about the talk show. The single greatest gift of the talk show content-wise is something called the word wheel. So I don't have it right here, but if you Google word wheel or wheel of emotions, you will find that if you ask somebody, name as many emotions as you can. Most people can name 3: happy, sad, angry. There's literally like 113 of them, from disgusted to hopeless to, and if you start with a core, this thing allows you to start with a core emotion and go out. Because back to the flower example, I was expressing anger. That's not what I was feeling. I was feeling invisible and forgotten. And so the word wheel is something that we used several times a week to help people go from the thing that they are expressing to communicating what you're feeling, which is a lot like the work that you wrote about in your book around wearing masks. Getting to the root of the core emotion you're feeling but not expressing. And that gets back to the pause thing. What have I seen? That I am busy, that I am so, have you ever wanted something so bad that you become paralyzed?
Yeah.
I so want to end the mental pain and suffering that people feel. I so want to help people heal their minds and to have the power to create a better future. And I get so overwhelmed by how much I want to see that happen in the world that sometimes I become paralyzed. And what happens for me a lot of the time is I feel insignificant in my ability to move the needle on that.
Yeah, because there's billions of people who are struggling.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do to make the maximum use of your time, to make the maximum impact, and also create resources to create more impact? I get that.
I yell at my husband to buy me flowers. That's what I do.
I get the feeling. Is this wheel of emotions? Is this something you created, or is this something else?
No, it's in the public domain.
Wow, that's cool. I never heard of that.
That's really cool.
Now, I've been, I think I mentioned this to you. I've had some paralysis or just a lack of focus around completion of my book proposal I've been working on for about a year as well. About
Dyslexia Unite.
Exactly. About eliminating self-doubt. I think self-doubt and mental challenges kind of are cousins maybe of each other, family members in some way. And I think self-doubt is the killer of dreams. I believe when we don't believe in ourselves and our abilities, eventually we're going to sabotage something. And I hear you talk about confidence a lot. A lot of your social media posts are about this. You say it a lot better than I do. But what do you think are the reasons we doubt ourselves, or what do you think is the steps to gaining more confidence in ourselves when we doubt?
So I always thought that confidence was a thing that you feel. And I have come to prefer that confidence is something that you do, meaning that, a lot of people like to think, okay, well, you're going to feel confident first. And then once you feel confident, then you'll take the action. And that's wrong. It's not a chicken or an egg in my mind. I think what happens is you have to force yourself in a moment of self-doubt to do something. And when you see yourself taking action, the confidence follows. So I have created my own definition of confidence, which is confidence is the willingness to try. And you display the willingness to try when you take action.
Yeah.
It's a lot like the relationship between courage and fear. You can't have courage without fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting in the face of it. And confidence isn't the absence of self-doubt, it's being willing to try even though you doubt yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That's going in the book. I'm quoting you in the book.
Make it, baby. Make it your own.
I love that. That's powerful. Yeah. And I think, you know, I'm sure we're very similar in the sense that we do a lot and we build confidence because we would take action. You in law school and public defending and all these different things you've done, which like, okay, I'm afraid, but let me go do it. And now, okay, I'm getting better. Now I feel more confident. It's not just let me learn something or let me read a book and now I'm confident in a skill that I haven't applied. I must apply it and fail a bunch and realize, oh, okay, I've gotten better. I have fallen over and over and now I'm standing and I'm actually doing okay and I'm doing even better now. Let me build my confidence there. So
yes. And look, you know, here's the thing. I think that preparation and studying something so that you feel like you have an understanding of something can be an important first thing that you try, but don't let the studying of something become the reason why you don't actually take the next action.
Yeah. Well, I need to get my master's. I need to go to business school. I need to go to whatever, and then never actually do it. When you can start doing something much sooner before needing to have all the credentials necessarily.
Yes, there's very few things.
Except for like being a doctor. Okay, maybe don't do surgery.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, a chemist, a doctor, something that requires you to actually have accreditation and specialized knowledge, an engineer, whatever. But most things that you will master in life will not be mastered by reading a book. You cannot learn how to ride a bike by reading about it. You have to get your ass on that seat and find your balance. That's how you find balance, is by falling. Because balance is somewhere in between not being on the bike and falling. Or being on the bike and falling, rather.
What do we do when we're in the face of so much uncertainty?
Well, when you are in the face of so much uncertainty, which we all are right now, what you have to do is you have to win the battle that you can win, which is the battle with your own mind. You see, you can't control what governments are going to do. You can't control the price of oil. You can't control what COVID-19 is going to do. You can't control what's going to happen a month from now, 2 months from now. You can only control what you're doing right here, right now. And so if you have the propensity to get triggered by the unknown, which most human beings do, you have to fight to focus on the stuff you do know. So right now in this moment, you know what I know? I know that if you're watching this conversation, you're safe. I know that you have access to the internet. I know that you're still alive. And so safety and health is the number one thing that if you have that covered, you can focus on this moment and bringing your mind back to this moment and saying, I may not know what's going to happen. I may not like how people are handling it, but I do know that I am safe right now. And that I will be able to face whatever is coming. When you start to get into the pattern and the habit of spinning thoughts about what's coming, you will lose the battle with your mind, your health will tank, your mood will tank, your relationships will tank, your outlook will tank. It all begins with making a decision that you are not going to allow that shit in your mind. That is the one thing that you can control. And what's happening for so many people right now is that our moods and our decisions and our thought patterns actually begin in our bodies. So our nervous systems are hardwired to trigger certain thinking patterns. And it dates back to patterns that you learned when you were a kid. So if uncertainty for you as a kid meant, uh-oh, is dad coming home and drunk? And do I need to be on edge and I get hyper vigilant so that I don't get in the crosshairs? Or maybe uncertainty was, uh-oh, mom seems a little critical. Is she disappointed? Is she upset? Am I going to get in trouble? And so you developed this propensity to start to worry about what's coming. The second, as an adult, you get into a situation where you start to feel like you don't know what's coming, before your mind even realizes it, your nervous system recognizes it, because your mind may have forgotten the pattern, but your body sure remembers it. And boom, this kind of habitual worrying can take over like that. So you're not only dealing with the triggers that are in the present moment, you're dealing with past patterns of thinking, whether it's worry or anxiety, or it's perfectionism or procrastination or hypervigilance or assuming something bad is going to happen, whatever it may be, that is getting triggered for people at a profound level. And so what I want to do today with you is I want to give you some simple tools so that you can create some psychological distance, just a micro moment between the thing that triggers you. Let's create a little moment, a pause, if you will, where you can have self-awareness and where you can insert a moment of control, and then hand you the tools to redirect your mind to something positive. Because here's what I know. This isn't going to last forever. I know that oil prices may momentarily tank, but when we flatten the curve, we will go back to life and people will need oil. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that really suffer because they lose their jobs or they lose their homes or they are struggling to find the basic supplies. One good thing about what's happening right now is this is not happening just to you. This is a global crisis and there are a tremendous number of resources out there. So you can focus on all the shit that you can't control, or you can focus on this moment and the fact that right now you're healthy and okay. And then you can develop a mantra from this moment to remind yourself to calm your ass down and focus on the fact that if something bad happens, you will face it then.
I love that response. I love that. What is this tool? I'm curious to know now. What is this tool that you're going to teach us? Can we get into that?
Yes. So the first thing that I want everybody to do is you've got to be able to see or name the thing if you want to tame it. So if you just take out a piece of paper and you write down everything on a simple piece of paper or in a notebook that triggers you to worry, to feel anxious, to be uncertain, that's number one, because part of what we need to teach you to do is you can see this stuff coming. If you don't label all the things that trigger you, then what's going to happen is your nervous system gets triggered, which then takes you into a worry and an anxiety, a fight or flight adrenaline response that hijacks your mind. And before you know it, your thoughts are scrambling and it's hard to bring yourself down once your thoughts go haywire. So I want you to write down all the things. For me, my biggest moments of anxiety are first thing in the morning. And I have tremendous experience with this personally. So I struggled with anxiety for 25 years. I was medicated for it. The medication saved my life. I had such severe postpartum depression when our first daughter was born, who's now 21, that I couldn't be left alone with her. That's how scary it was. So my expertise comes not from studying this, it's from living this and having to figure out how to save my own ass from my own mind. And about 6 years ago, I started using something I called the 5-second rule to interrupt my thoughts that were negative, that would send me spiraling, and drag my mind to consciousness, to the prefrontal cortex in 5 seconds flat. And I trained myself to start to rewire my own patterns of nervous system gets triggered, my mind goes haywire. I interrupt it using what I call the 5-second rule. I'm going to teach it to you in a second. I draw my focus back to my prefrontal cortex, which gives me immediate control of what I'm thinking. And boom, I drop in what I call an anchor thought to anchor myself down. So the first step of this is I want you to write down everything that triggers you. For me, waking up to a new day where there's a lot of uncertainty or something's going on, facing all of that is where my anxiety comes. And, I hit rock bottom in my life 11 years ago. My husband was in the restaurant business. It was going under. We were $800,000 in debt, about to lose the house. I was drinking way too much, because numbing your problems is the easiest way to deal with them, but it backfires. Go ahead.
So Mel, this situation you're in, I mean, this situation the world is in, you've been here. Because I read your bio when your husband was starting that pizza restaurant, and you guys were $800,000 in the hole, almost losing your money, almost losing all your savings.
No money. I mean, I couldn't pay for groceries. The bankruptcy letters were coming. The car was about to be repossessed. We had 3 kids. I was unemployed. It was so bad. I could not get my ass out of bed. I was 41 years old, and I never thought that my life would turn out like this. Just like, look, you didn't choose to be in this situation with this pandemic, but you can choose how you build a response to it. And that's where I need you to focus all of your energy, all of your thoughts, that you didn't choose this anxiety crock pot we're all cooking in, but we can choose how we insulate ourselves from the uncertainty, and we build emotional resilience, and we ground our minds. And so I couldn't get out of bed. I mean, I would hit that snooze button.
How long ago was this, Mel?
11 years. Wow. So I couldn't get out of bed. The alarm would ring. I'd hit the snooze button 4 or 5 times. My mind would be full of all of the problems, all of the uncertainty. How the fuck am I going to get out of this? I'm the worst mother. The kids have missed the bus. I hate my husband. I'm a failure. All of it. It was like the weighted blanket psychologically keeping me in bed. And so my life changed, and you can change your life with one decision. In fact, I think we're all just one decision away from a totally different life. And if you make the decision today, after watching this and listening to this, to change how you think, your whole life will change. And so what happened for me is one night I was watching TV, and I was giving myself this little pep talk, like, all right, I got to pull it together. I got to stop drinking. I got to find a job. I got to stop screaming at my husband. I got to start talking to my friends. I got to do something. I got to change. And I see this rocket ship launch across the television screen. And it gave me this crazy idea that maybe if I launched myself out of bed, if I move fast enough, maybe I'd move fast enough and I'd be gone before the anxiety and depression hit. Maybe there was a window of time where you could move before the anxiety and depression, boom, takes you down. Now, look, I had 4 Manhattans that night, so I was pretty proud, because it sounds like a stupid idea. You know what I'm saying? But for whatever reason, I'll never forget it. It was a Tuesday morning in February outside of Boston, Massachusetts. That alarm went off. And here's the thing I want everybody to understand. Your whole life comes down to micro changes. And these changes happen in a 5-second window. There's a 5-second window between feeling the terror of this moment and finding courage, or feeling the terror of this moment and having a panic attack. There's a 5-second window between feeling motivated to go for a walk or to sit down and focus. And 5 seconds later, you've talked yourself out of it. Everything happens in this 5-second window, and that's where the power is. So that morning, Tuesday in February, 11 years ago, the alarm goes off. Now, I immediately remembered I should get out of bed. Just like you know exactly what you should be doing, or the small things that will make your day a little bit better. I knew it, but then this 5-second moment of hesitation opens up. And I started thinking about what I needed to do instead of doing it. And that's where all of the emotion and all the anxiety and all the depression, it comes right into this 5-second moment of hesitation. I could feel myself reaching for the snooze button because it was a habit. I did it every single morning as avoidance and denial and numbing. But then I did something that I'd never done in my life. I started counting backwards, just like the space programs do when they launch a rocket. Works in any language, only works if you count backwards, does not work if you count up. Started counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just like a rocket launch. And boom, I stood up. It was this craziest thing. And that was that. The next morning I used it again. The next morning I used it again. By the 3rd morning, I thought this is very weird, but I was so desperate. I said, instead of getting resigned and cynical, why don't you just test this thing? Anytime you're in a moment, Mel, where you don't feel like doing something, or you're emotionally triggered, or procrastination's kicking in, or fear or anxiety, just count backwards. Let's see what happens. I'll be damned. Counting backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It made me pick up the phone and start looking for a job. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I put the booze over here and walked in that direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I settle my nervous system. Instead of screaming at my husband, Chris, I'm able to talk to him calmly. Using this tool, my whole life changed. Now, I never intended to tell anybody because it sounds stupid and I didn't know why it worked. No idea. And that all changed in 2011 when I was asked to give that TEDx talk. Now, by this point, I had gotten a job. Chris's restaurants were turning around because he was using the 5-second rule to make the courageous decisions that he had been avoiding. Everything was great. And somebody asked me to give a talk about finding a new job, about careers, about goals. That was the TEDx talk. I used the 5-second rule for 3 years to change my own life. I used it in secret. I didn't talk about it. It was a little self-coaching tool that was just incredible. It gives you instant motivation, instant courage, instant 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 push that you need to do the things that will change your life. So I get asked to give a TEDx talk about how you change your career. It was not about the 5-second rule. That was the first speech I'd ever given in my life. If you want to know what it looks like to have a 21-minute long panic attack, watch my TED talk. If you look closely.
For people who are going to be looking for this TED Talk, is this the one called How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over?
Yes.
Amazing.
And I
22 million
literally,
views. Amazing.
yes, you can watch it. I literally have a bright red rash on my neck as I'm talking. All the anxiety coming. I forgot how to end the thing. I casually mentioned the 5-second rule at the end because I forgot what I was supposed to talk about. A year goes by. Nothing changes in my life. And all of a sudden somebody reaches out on Facebook and asks me to speak. And they said that they had seen the speech in San Francisco. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, it's on Facebook. I'm like, it's on Facebook. They had put it on Facebook. It had like 1 million views. So I started being asked to speak about the 5-second rule, and it became this organic phenomenon. And, I spoke for free about it for a couple of years, and then I realized everybody at these events but me was getting paid, and I'm a moron. And about 4 years ago, or 5 years ago now, I started speaking professionally, and I became the most booked female speaker in the world.
What?
And
Congratulations. That is amazing.
Thank you. 111 speeches in 2018, and then we focused on launching a talk show. But so the thing about the 5-second rule is it's not mine, it's for the world. And what I'm really excited and why I'm excited to come back to teaching it to you and how you use it with identifying triggers and with anchor thoughts is it's way more than a motivational tool. It is a weapon that you can use against programming in your mind that you want to upgrade. And here's how you're going to use it. Because it's being used by healthcare practitioners in psychiatric practices. It's being used in inpatient settings in psychiatric hospitals. It is being used by pediatricians to help kids with anxiety. It's being used by veterans organizations to help people with PTSD. It is a fundamental science-backed tool that is classified as a starting ritual in habit research. A starting ritual is something you can use to trick your own mind. See, all of the negative shit that you do, whether it's procrastinating or worrying or anxiety, it's all stored right here in this part of your brain. This part of your brain automates all your behavior. Any negative pattern that you feel like you don't want anymore in your life, we can interrupt that pattern and we can replace it with a new pattern. But first you got to learn to interrupt the pattern. And so what happens when you use the 5-second rule is counting backwards does something really powerful. When you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it requires focus when you first start using it, which is this puppy right here, the prefrontal cortex. When you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the counting draws your focus to your prefrontal cortex and awakens it. So by the time you get to 1, the part of the brain that is responsible for courage, for learning new behavior, for strategic decision making, and for being intentional and conscious has just woken up. The act of counting backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is an intentional act that interrupts a pattern of worrying or a pattern of negative self-talk or a pattern of anxiety that's automated. The act of counting is the first thing you choose to do to say, screw you, I'm not going to listen to that. By the time you get to 1, your mind is now primed to receive different information because it's ready to focus on something. So when you identify all the triggers that trigger you to feel anxious or worry or out of control right now, what you're now going to do is we're going to come up with a pattern that we want to replace. Because if your coping mechanism for anxiety in the morning is to lie in bed and to feel anxious as hell and to start getting depressed and then to sleep till noon, we want to replace that with getting up and getting out of bed and getting outside. And this change is going to happen in a 5-second window. So we identify the trigger. I feel depressed, I stay in bed, I oversleep, I don't get up, then I wake up and feel horrible. Okay, that's the trigger, the morning, the alarm goes off. Great, we're gonna use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're gonna replace it with a different behavior that you've already planned. I'm getting up, it doesn't matter how I feel, I'm getting up. It might be that your coping mechanism is to hit the bong or to drink too much at night because that's the only way you can get your mind to quiet down, right? Because we all are feeling something right now called moral fatigue. Have you heard this term before? Moral fatigue, really important to understand. If you feel like you're more exhausted than ever and you don't understand why because you're just sitting on your ass all day, let me tell you why you're exhausted right now, like exhausted in your bones, and why at the end of the day, you just want to numb out. So here's why. A month or 2 months ago, depending upon where you live in the world, going to the store and buying milk was a very automated proposition. You got to the store, walked in, you got your milk, you left. Now, it requires complex processing. It requires your prefrontal cortex to fire up and go, okay, wait, do I have a mask? Do I have supplies? Is the store going to be open? Is there going to be a line? As you're driving along or riding your bike or walking, you see all these people with their masks on and it feels dystopian and weird and people are frowning and it feels scary. And then you go into the store and you're thinking, should I touch this? Should I not touch this? Should I pull out my money? Is there going to be milk? Did somebody touch the milk thing? Should I decontaminate? Does a virus live on plastic? Is it cold? Is it not cold? Should I say hi to this person? Am I standing too close to the cash register? Why can't I come up to the thing? But when is this going to end? So by the time you get home, you've basically taken a standardized test. Your mind is like, oh, God. So if you're having a hard time focusing right now, it's because of what they call moral fatigue. Your mind is having to make big moral calls about every small aspect of life right now. It is gassing you. Your brain is so out of fuel. Your mind is so tired. So your butt may be in the same chair all day long. Your mind has just run 4 marathons. It's exhausted. So if you notice that you're making unhealthy choices or that you worry the most at night, that's a trigger. So the sun going down might be a trigger. It's a huge trigger for a lot of people. You want to know why? The reason why the sun going down is a huge trigger for a lot of people is that's when they're typically, if you grew up in a house with a lot of conflict, the fighting happened at night. So parents coming home from work puts you in a state, whether you realize it or not, of feeling on edge, that something's coming. And so it can be very hard for people that grew up in households with a lot of trauma and conflict to relax at night, which is why it's easy to reach for the booze or the weed or the whatever to zone out. And so instead you could go to Mind Valley and do one of the yoga classes. You could make it a practice that you're going to watch a whole series of documentaries instead, that you're going to have a choice in place because you know the trigger's coming. Now, when it comes to worry, what you need to do is, again, this comes to one of the things that I've been doing is when I notice that my mind starts to go too far in the future, because lately this is what I've been worried about. And this is a very, this is a luxurious worry. But the thing that I've been thinking a lot about is, oh my God, what happens if our 21-year-old and our 19-year-old can't go back to college this fall? That is going to be a nightmare for me, because they're going to be here in the house and I'm going to be, but I think about also, when am I going to get back on the speaking circuit? When am I going to be able to be out with people at events? When are we going to be able to get back to things? When I start to go there and I start to feel a level of spinning, I catch myself, because it's not going to serve me to worry. That's what everybody needs to understand. Your worrying is not helping you. It's hurting you. And so when I notice my own mind start to go to that place, I use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's like going, giving yourself, your brain, a little slap. I awaken this. And then at my desk, I'm not sitting at my desk because we went to my mother-in-law's place in Vermont, but I have a photo of Lake Michigan. I grew up in Muskegon, Michigan. And the state park there is on Lake Michigan, one of the Great Lakes here in the United States. And it's a beautiful freshwater lake with sand dunes and seagrass, just beautiful. And so I have a photo of it. And the reason why I have a photo of it is because it is a visual anchor that reminds me that better days are coming. It's a visual anchor that reminds me that when all of this is over and we flatten the curve together, and I emerge back into public life, the first place I'm going to go is to see my folks. And I'm going to walk out onto that beach. And so everybody should think about what is the one thing you want to do when this is over that you can't do right now?
You know, I want to travel. I want to get on stage again. I want to speak again. I've had so many, just like you. I was supposed to speak at South by Southwest, and so many amazing events. All of that got dashed.
So pick one. I want everybody to pick one. So you pick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so South by Southwest. So what I want you to do is I want you to find an image of a particular stage, because I know there's millions of them there, that you really see yourself, or the sea of people, or the big thing. But the vision that really represents that moment when you are out in public with that many people, able to share all of these amazing ideas and talk about this incredible community that you've built. And what you'll notice is that our minds are like boats. And if a boat isn't anchored, it will go with a current and drift away. And the current right now everywhere is extraordinarily negative. Nobody needs to turn on the news. You don't. I can tell you what's happening. People are dying. You're supposed to stay in your house, and we're working on finding a test and a vaccine. That's it.
Right.
Other than that, there's nothing else new going on. That's it. Believe me, when the stay-at-home orders are lifted, everybody will text you. You don't have to have the news on. But the current right now is super duper negative. And so it's easy to have your mind drift. So you need things to anchor you. A photo of the thing you're going to do, like your photo of South by Southwest and my photo of the shores of Lake Michigan, that is what they call an environmental trigger. That positive environmental trigger anchors your mind in the positive thought that this is going to pass. This is temporary. I'm going to get through this. And when I do, I'm going to go do this thing that I care about. That brings you back into being able to be in the moment and remind yourself, I'm okay. And when something happens that I need to worry about, that's when I'll worry about it. But right now I'm okay. And this is temporary. And that, by simply redirecting your mind all day long, you will train your brain, no joke, to start to spot the positive, optimistic things, even in this moment.
Wow.
I want you to hold on to this idea of what do you want in your life? What are your dreams for you? And then I want you to bring it back to yourself. Think about that excuse that is stopping you, the one that you always reach for, like I was reaching for the snooze alarm. And I want you to think to yourself, what do you need to change? And it could be something good. Like I have this huge thing going on in my life right now. I have a brand new, you guys, I landed a daytime syndicated talk show. No kidding. September 16th, I hope you'll tune in 5 days a week. Watch out, Dr. Phil, because the Mel Robbins show is going to be airing nationwide. That's right. And when I think about all the changes I've made in the last 10 years, my God, I'm exhausted. And when I think about what it's going to take for me to be successful in this next stage of my life, right? That's right, I hear you. And to do 175 shows a year, and to be a lifeline for people every day, and what it's going to take for me and my habits. I got a lot I need to change. I need to be more deliberate about a lot of things. I got to be more present with my family when I'm around them. I got to make sure that I stay centered. And so I want you to think about, when you think about that next chapter that can start right now, what is it that you need to change for the good? That small little tweak. And I want you to hold on to that, because this is an easy question to answer. The real one is this one.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. Finally, you would dream where you are now. You would dream the dream of living the life that you are actually living today.
There is only one sensible thing to do with this empty existence, and that is, fill it.
Live long and prosper.
This is an adventure!
Don't let fear rule your life.
I'm trying to make somebody to look up to.
The most important word in that sentence is will. Not will you or won't you change, but do you have the will to push yourself to change? When you're tired, when you're frustrated, when somebody said something just nasty or racist or sexist to you and it brought you down. Do you have the will to keep pushing forward? And the answer is, yep, you will, because you're going to have this puppy in your back pocket, okay? So let me explain how you use it. The next time you're in a situation where that alarm goes off, you kind of know what to do. You feel that little bit of confidence, you feel that hope, you feel that courage coming up, and then you feel that 5-second window of hesitation open up and those excuses roll in, and you start to feel yourself shrinking. You start to feel yourself getting silent. You start to feel yourself backing away from that thing you know you need to do. You're going to pull out the 5-second rule and go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and step forward. Now, a couple things about that. If you are with a group of people, do not count out loud, because you will sound like a weirdo. I do not want you in a meeting going 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're like, oh my God, what is happening over there? A couple other things. Don't count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't work. The reason why 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 doesn't work is because you and I were taught to count up in whatever language we were taught to count it in since we were yay high. It's already a pattern that is stored right here that you can do on autopilot. You can do it without thinking. I want you to develop a new pattern when you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and you activate this puppy right here. Let me show you what's actually happening in your brain when you use forms of metacognition. Now, metacognition is just a fancy word that means brain trick. That's all. You have the ability to outsmart your own mind. You have the ability to use simple tricks to be able to control which part of the brain that you're using. So this guy right here is a simulation of a functional MRI when people are using forms of metacognition. That red part right there, it's the interior part of your brain, It's where all your habits are. It's where your emotions are stored. It's where every pattern that you know, from driving a car to doubting yourself, to feeling anxious, to worrying about what other people think, those patterns that are sabotaging you, right there in the red part. The green part, that's your prefrontal cortex. That's going to make you more money. That's going to make you happier. That's going to allow you to develop new skills. That's what you're using when you're in control of what you're doing. So let's count out loud backwards together, and let's see what happens when you use this. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. For those of you that felt pressure right there, don't worry, I'm not a hypnotist. That's just evidence, and you're going to feel that from time to time, that you're actually shifting gears in terms of which part of the mind that you're using. You know, when you first start using this, I think it's really obvious how you use it. You use it to do very irritating things, okay? You're going to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push yourself to the gym. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push yourself to talk about total life changes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push yourself to put down the drink. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push yourself to lower your voice. And look, you're probably going to hate me at times. I'm cool with that if you're changing your life for the better. I don't mind if you hate me. And I want to say something else about changing your life for the better. Do you realize I have been using the 5-second rule for 10 years. I use it every single morning to get out of bed. I hate getting out of bed. I use it every day to exercise. I hate exercising. I want you to understand something. There are going to be things that you need to do to heal your family, to build your business, to make more money, that you may never like. That's okay. You can still do it. So I don't want you to expect that you're ever going to love having to make a cold call. You may always hate it, but you can still do it. I think about it like loading the dishwasher. I hate doing that too, but I still do it. Now I want to show you, given that I think the physical stuff is obvious, I want to show you two really important things. First of all, I'm going to show you a bunch of 5-second habits. These are habits that I have, that I do every single morning and every single night, and it is the reason why I am so successful. And it is the reason why I can focus on what's important most of the time and not get caught up in the baloney, okay? And so most of you are going to hate these. I want you to try them anyway. And so these are my 5-second habits that I want you all to adopt. And I promise you, if you adopt these, play around with them, you will make more money. You will make more money in less time. You will feel less anxiety. You will be less distracted. And I promise you, you're going to hate every one of them. You ready? Here we go. So the first one is about your phone. I want to put something into perspective for you. We live in what I call the attention economy, okay? That means your attention is for sale. Whenever you're on Facebook, whenever you're on social media and you're just kind of wasting time scrolling, if you click on something, you just made somebody money. They just bought your attention. And so one of the things I want to shift your perspective about is it's become more important than ever that you realize that your phone is perhaps the most important tool in your business, right? You got that? For those of you that don't have enough time, the reason why you don't has to do with how much time you waste on this. And so, yeah, I know, I don't like what she's talking about. I don't like this at all. It's true. If you want to, I want you to wake up and realize how often you're really using this to further your business and your goals. Or when you're the one that's making other people money because you're spending all your time clicking on a bunch of crap that doesn't matter. All right? So, one of the number one rules that I have that I want you to adopt, and it takes 5 seconds, I don't want you to ever have your phone in your bedroom. What? What? How dare you? Excuse me? I do not want your phone in your bedroom, and there's a couple reasons why. Number one, you're addicted to it, okay? Number two, this is sickening. You ready? 33% of you are checking email in the middle of the night. Look, I'm 50 years old. I get up at 2:13 every morning, you know, and I got to go to the bathroom, and it's nice to have a flashlight, but if you got it, then you're going to look at it. This is sick. And most of you don't even realize that you're doing it, and then you wonder, I'm getting sleep, I can't sleep. You want to know the other thing that's sick? 87% of you check it before you brush your teeth. You want to know why you wake up anxious and out of control and you got no time and you're freaked out? It's because you look at this thing before you even get out of bed. I mean, think about it. You're like sleeping. If it's next to you and the alarm goes off, what are you going to do? Oh my God. That's what's going on today in the news? Oh my God, what's happened? That person's on vacation again, I hate them. And you wake up and you're like totally freaked out and upset and now you don't know why you don't know, and that's why your day starts. Is it any wonder if that's how your day starts, why you don't have time? Why your mind is already out of your control? You have to put this out of your bedroom, and here's why. I don't trust you, and you shouldn't trust you either with it. Now, here's the second rule. So it's not in your bedroom, so the alarm goes off. I don't want you to hit the snooze button. Now, here's why. The reason why has to do with the way your brain works. Your productivity and your focus has nothing to do with when you get up. It has everything to do with how you get up. So if you and I, we sleep in sleep cycles. So you fall asleep, it takes, a little while, and then you drift into a sleep cycle, and a sleep cycle is about 75 to 90 minutes. And then you do another one, 75 to 90 minutes. And then you do another one, 75 to 90 minutes. And then your brain goes into a phase where it starts to thaw like a giant chicken, to come awake. And when the alarm goes off, great, get up, you're in the thaw zone. Your brain is ready to start the day. If you hit the snooze button, like I used to hit the snooze button, and then you drift back to sleep, what do you suppose your mind drifts into? Sleep cycle. How long do those take? 75 to 90 minutes. So when that alarm goes off 15 minutes later and you wake up, your brain is now trapped in a sleep cycle. Sleep researchers, psychologists, neurologists, they call it sleep inertia. If your brain is in a sleep cycle, it impairs your ability to process, to focus, to remember for 4 hours. So those of you that keep hitting the snooze button and then you spend the day going, oh my God, I didn't get enough sleep last night. Whoa, I feel so groggy. It's nothing to do with how much sleep you got. It has to do with the fact that you screwed yourself over. You basically put yourself back in a sleep cycle and then made yourself wake up, and now you're walking around like the Walking Dead for 4 hours. So no snooze button. Not because it's enjoyable, but because that's what your brain needs, and that's what your business needs. And that's what you need in order to focus. Now, what do I want you to do? I want you to do something called 30 before 7:30. That means take 30 minutes. If you can't find 30 minutes, take 5. What do you not see in this photo? Her phone. That's right. What are you doing during this time? So the alarm went off, the phone wasn't there, so you didn't look at it. You had to get out of bed because you didn't hit the snooze button. You now find 5 to 30 minutes. I started calling this 30 before 7:30 because my first kid got on the bus at 7 o'clock, so that was the first 30 minutes that I could find in the day where things weren't crazy, you know what I'm saying? And so this is what mine looks like. No makeup, pajamas, and no phone. Now, what are you doing in those 5 to 30 minutes? You haven't looked at your phone yet, so you haven't let the craziness of the world into your mind. You have not been hijacked by the attention economy. You've woken up and your brain is ready to go. All I want you to do is I want you to just think about your day. Just think about your day. And here's something that I stole from the folks at Harvard Business School that has changed how I do my day. And that is, all I want you to do is figure out today what is one thing that I want to work on and one way that I can make progress. That's it. So you're going to wake up, not have your phone. You're going to sit down with a cup of coffee or tea, a glass of water, or whatever. You're going to find 5 to 30 minutes before you turn on the TV or turn on the radio or look at the social media. And you're going to ask yourself, what's the one thing I want to work on today? And what's one little puny thing that I can do to inch that thing forward? Can I send an email? Can I watch a video? Can I go through my social media and unfollow people that trigger me? Can I, can I make a phone call? Can I read some of the latest training from Total Life Changes? Yeah, what can I do? What's one thing? That's all I want you to do every day, because if you just did one thing every day to inch this business forward for you, you would be shocked where you are a year from now. And I'm going to tell you, it begins and ends with you giving yourself the key time before the day starts. Don't your dreams deserve 30 lousy minutes? Doesn't your mental health deserve 30 lousy minutes? And you're not going to get it the rest of the day. You're just not. And so this has really changed my life. And so what do? The last thing I do at the end of the day, I charge my phone in the kitchen at night. That's what I do. That's what I do with our kids' phones too. They stay in the kitchen or in the closet somewhere away. That's the last thing I do, so that when I go into my bedroom, it's not there. I'm not even tempted. Those are 5-second habits that will fundamentally change your mindset. It'll change your sense of control. It will give you the little momentum every morning, and every single one of you can 5 minutes in the morning. Every single one of you can charge the phone in the kitchen. And by the way, if you want to see a video where I explain this for free, I'm not selling you anything. We just get a lot of questions about this. You can just go to melrobbins.com/free gift. It's a video explaining the science of all of this in even greater depth. And that's my thank you to you for inviting me here. So if this makes you nervous, good. That's right, good. Because you know what? Nerves are normal. Nerves are important. If you're not doing something once a week that makes you nervous, you should be. Because it means you're not doing anything new, you know? This is part of changing. And so now that I've given you the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you know how to push yourself, you know how to coach yourself, you know how to beat all the excuses, you know how to close the gap between thinking and doing, you know how to close the gap between doubting yourself and acting with confidence, you know how to close the gap between fear stopping you and being a little courageous. Now I want to give you a couple really cool tricks around dealing with nerves. Because now that you're going to push yourself, you're going to find yourself in situations that make you nervous. Awesome. I want you nervous at least once a week. I want you out on the edge. I want you feeling like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Can I do this? Well, we're gonna push you to do it. And so it's a medical fact that there's no difference in your body medically when you're in a situation that makes you nervous and a situation that makes you excited. No difference. Like, think about it. In a moment where you're really excited, your stomach has butterflies, right? Same thing's true when you're nervous. In a moment when you're really excited, your armpits, they sweat like Niagara Falls, right? Same thing when you're nervous. Your heart races, your throat gets tight, your hands get clammy. Medical fact. There is no difference between a situation that makes you nervous. I mean, is she nervous? Or is she excited? Whatever you're thinking, you're right, by the way. Because the only thing that's different between a situation that's supposedly making you nervous and excited is what your brain is saying about it. So the folks at Harvard Medical School wonder, geez, I wonder, since it's a medical fact that your body is exactly the same when you're nervous as when you're excited, could we trick your brain into thinking you're excited in a moment when you're nervous? The answer is yes, you certainly can. So let me show you the really awesome little trick, because they tested this at Harvard Medical School, and it was fascinating. Every single student who was taught to do what I'm about to teach you before a standardized test performed better. Before a track meet, ran faster. Before a negotiation competition, did better. Here's the simple trick. The next time you're in a situation that makes you nervous, you're going to go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you're going to go, I am so excited to fire this person.
No bad joke? Okay, well that situation makes me nervous. Makes me very nervous. I'm so excited to give this presentation. I'm so excited to give this sample out. I am so excited, and something crazy is going to happen. Your body is going to settle. And you are going to perform better even though you feel nervous. And you're going to be shocked, just like Chris was shocked. I used the 5-second rule before a presentation. I used nervous energy to be excited. It worked. Here's the reason why it works. If you're in a situation that makes you nervous and you allow your thoughts to spiral, your own thoughts make your body state worse. When your body state starts to get even more agitated, cortisol, a stress hormone, hits your brain. When cortisol hits your prefrontal cortex, guess what happens? You can't remember what you prepared. You can't process as quickly. So it's not that your preparation in talking to people about this business wasn't good. It's that you allowed your own nerves to release cortisol, and that stopped you from leveraging what you know. It's absolutely amazing, and you need to know this because you're now going to be in situations, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that really, really, really make you nervous, and that's good. Now you know all you have to do is be like, I'm so excited, I'm so excited, I'm so excited, and you will be startled by how well it works. Now I want to build on that and talk about anxiety, okay? And if you have children that struggle with anxiety, first of all, you're not alone, and secondly, I want you to pay attention because the 5-second rule is a remarkable tool that you can use to help your children with anxiety. Now, we've seen a rise in anxiety with our own kids. I was speaking for a massive audience of pediatricians, and a pediatrician came up to me a couple weeks ago after a speech and said, I'm so glad you're talking about this because, you know, a couple years ago, Mel, we would have 3 or 4 appointments a week where parents would raise anxiety as like an issue. I have 5 or 6 appointments a day where it's the primary thing they're coming in with. And I'm sure if you've seen a rise in your own family and you're worried about it, you know, I want you to know that you're not alone. The other reason why I talk about this is because when I talk about anxiety, it's personal. You know, a lot of people will look at me, particularly on stage or in the videos we put out online, and they're like, oh, Mel, whatever. She was just born confident and annoying. Annoying for sure. Just ask my baby brother, Derek. Confident? No way. I think if you could be a baby that worries, that was me. I was the kind of kid that, like, my face would turn bright red when I got called on in class. And when I was in 6th grade, growing up in Western Michigan, my parents, they sent me to Girl Scout camp in Pentwater. I was so homesick, they sent me home. I mean, do you know how homesick you need to be for trained adults to be like, you need to leave? This is out of hand. By the time I was 19, it was panic attacks. By the time I was 21, it was full-blown anxiety disorder. And thank God a doctor put me on Zoloft. You know, I took that drug for 25 years. And I had no shame in that. I mean, it was a lifesaver for me. In fact, the only time I stopped taking it was when our now 20-year-old daughter was born. And I had such severe postpartum depression, like the really scary kind. I couldn't be left alone with our daughter for 8 weeks. So when I talk about how you and I torture ourselves with how we think, I have lived this nightmare. Now, about 5 years ago, as the 5-second rule started to spread around the world, and I was like overwhelmed with the stories coming in. Something happens to you when you put something out in the world and it helps people change their lives. I know you feel that in your own business as a life changer, right? Like you feel like so humbled, and you also feel a sense of responsibility, don't you? I felt a sense of responsibility to not only be able to explain why does something so simple work and help people, but I also felt a responsibility to take a look in the mirror and deal with my own demons. And so I thought, you know, I wonder if you could use the 5-second rule to do things other than physical habits. I wonder if you could change mental habits. I wonder if you could change your mindset. I wonder if I could cure myself of anxiety. And the answer is, yep, you sure can. In fact, I've been off meds for 5 years. I haven't had a panic attack, a bout of anxiety. I don't even worry about anything. So It's amazing. It is liberating. When you embrace the idea, everybody, I want to tell you something. I don't know who trained you to talk the way that you talk to yourself. I don't know who trained you to think you're not worthy, or you're not good enough, or you're not likable. You're not to blame for that. But you have a responsibility to change how you talk to yourself. And I'm going to show you how you do that using science. Are you ready? It's amazing. And I'm going to use an example that many of you may be able to relate to, and that's the fear of flying. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the research you just learned from Harvard Medical School about reframing nerves into excitement. Because remember, nerves and excitement, the same thing. And the danger of allowing yourself to stay worried is that you agitate your body further. Believe it or not, there's a really tight connection between worry and anxiety. Worry is your thoughts being negative. Anxiety is when your thoughts get so negative your body starts to get worried, okay? That's like the little sister and the big sister. A panic attack is when your body becomes so agitated that it's like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna die, and it takes over. It's like the mother, okay? So I'm gonna use this example to break apart how we think and to show you how to use the I'm excited trick from Harvard Medical School along with something that we call an anchor thought that will anchor your thoughts down and retrain your brain. So the fear of flying. I used to be a real nervous flyer, meaning I was a real weirdo. I would get to the airport, like I'm going to go to the airport tonight for my flight at 6:30, and I would get to the gate, and I'd be looking around at the gate area, and I had this whole thing where I wanted to see 3 kinds of passengers, ladies and gentlemen. I want to see a baby. We got a baby. Yes. I want to see someone in a wheelchair. Awesome. And I'd like to see men and women in the service. Because if those folks are getting on my plane, I could say, all right, God's not going to let this plane go down if they're on it, so it's safe to board. You know what I mean? And then I would get to the seat, and I would click that buckle, and the nerves would kick in, and the stomach would be in knots, and the armpits would be sweating like Niagara Falls, and my hands would get clammy, and start drinking water. And if you were next to me as I started my breathing, you would literally be like, why me? Why me next to this freak? And so I would try to keep it together as the plane is taxiing. And then the plane would take off, and as it takes off, it's like, okay, it's going up, and then you know how the plane takes off and then it levels off and it goes from like to and it feels like it's about to fall out of the sky. At that point, all bets are off. I start having a panic attack. I've grabbed you. I'm hyperventilating. I pull out my phone and I text Chris and our 3 children, Mommy loves you. Heart emoji. Because if this plane is about to crash, I want my kids to know I tried to be the best mother that I could. And that way at my funeral, when they deliver my eulogy, they can put those text messages in the PowerPoint, you know, and they can show you. And you giggle because we're sick. We're sick human beings. If I were to put a speaker on your head and broadcast the garbage you say to yourself, you wouldn't be here with us in Dallas. You'd be in an institution. But you listen to it. You listen to it. You listen to it. Oh my God. Why do you listen to this? It's insane. You get an email from your boss. You're like, I'm fired. You know, you get an email from somebody in corporate. What did I do? You have to stop it. It is a habit. It's a pattern. That's all it is. And you can break it. And you can replace it. And if you use the 5-second rule for nothing else, please go to war against how you talk to yourself. It will not make you more money to keep saying this crap to yourself. You are worthy. You do deserve it. You are smart enough. You work hard. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of success. Period. End of story. Yes, you are. So here's how you do it. When I get on the plane, before I get on that plane, so before you go through your day, I know exactly what triggers me on the plane. It's when we hit turbulence. There's something about that metal tube bouncing around at 30,000 feet in the air that makes me a little nervous, you know what I mean? So I come up with an anchor thought. An anchor thought is any thought related to what you're about to do that excites you. So if you're nervous about sharing total life changes, come up with an anchor thought that makes you excited. Think about what you love about this stuff. Think about the fact that you're going to give people a gift. It's a free sample, for crying out loud. Think about the impact this has made on your life. That's your anchor thought. If you have kids that struggle with anxiety, go through their day and talk about everything that makes them nervous and help them come up with another thought that could make them excited about what's going to happen. So I always think, if I'm flying back to Boston, I always think about, okay, what am I excited to do when I get home? Well, I'm excited to walk in the front door because we have a crazy 14-year-old son that always has some kind of wacko greeting, and I love it. And so when I get on the plane tonight, and we fly back east, and we bounce around over the rainstorms that hit the plains today, and my mind goes, oh my God, oh my God. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am not thinking about that. I am interrupting that thought. I am yanking my thoughts forward to here, and I am dropping in an anchor thought. I am so excited to walk in the front door and see what he does tonight. Huh? Right? And so what happens? Nothing. It's amazing. What happens is I yank my thoughts to my prefrontal cortex, and because I'm now thinking about something that's related, my mind's like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. She's not nervous about dying. She's excited to get home. That's it. So when you start to feel the butterflies coming, they're going to come. That's cool. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. I love that. Yay, you. Grow. Do it. Then go, I'm so excited to make a difference. I'm so excited to have a team of people. I am so excited to change my own life. I am so excited to give this gift and share this sample. I am so excited to have this conversation and remove the garbage that is between me and my dad or my mom or my spouse or my kid. And that anchor thought will anchor you down. And what's amazing, we had somebody write to us, you guys. I'm so proud of this. We had somebody write to us 2 weeks ago that follows us online, learned this by just watching some videos that we put out, and she said her 6-year-old was so overwhelmed with anxiety, she was getting physically ill before school, throwing up. That anxious, working herself into a tizzy. And she started using this simple formula I've just given to you. Go through your day. She's like, well, what are you worried about in the first period? What are you worried about in the second period? Okay, well, what can we think about that would be exciting? And what could you think about if you have to go to the nurse? And what could you... Do you know in 2 days, 2 days, using just the 5-second rule, I'm excited, and anchor thoughts, this little girl is no longer getting sick, and in fact was bounding out of the car going, I am so excited. So excited. This stuff works, but it doesn't work if you don't use it. So if you don't think you have anxiety, I think you're wrong. I think we all do. I love this email from Mohammed. Thank you, Mel. I had an important email to send, but I was afraid. How many of us have an email or a phone call, right? We're thinking about it. We're afraid. Why are we afraid? Because we're uncertain. That's all that triggers us. We're uncertain about how it's going to go. Do you know that thinking about it doesn't create certainty? The only thing that will give you certainty is you taking control in that 5-second window, changing how you think, and taking control of what you do in response. And I'm telling you, the secret is just 5 seconds. That's it. You don't have to worry about the big stuff. You've got to worry about these 5-second windows. You've got to worry about whether or not you got the clarity and the courage to hear the alarm and the power and the genius that is inside of you. And, you can get resigned. I was resigned. I didn't think, how on earth could simply getting my butt out of bed, how could that make a difference when our problems are so big? I'm telling you, you change your life one decision at a time. In fact, I think you're just one decision away from a totally different life. You're one decision away from not torturing yourself upstairs. It's the big stuff that you change with the littlest moments. Just ask Brittany and Todd. So today's Brittany's wedding day, and what you can't tell is it's been a terrible decade for the family because Brittany and Todd's mom got a divorce, and what are the rules of the divorce? Oh, you hate each other, and you fight like cats and dogs, you hire lawyers, you spend all your money, and you lose everything, and finally the dust settles and the divorce is final, and then what happens? Oh, everybody remarries, and it's like a big team sport of hate again. And so, you know, he's walking his new wife up the aisle, and that alarm goes off. That alarm that's inside of you, that is trying to signal you to pay attention, that there's magic here, there's connection here, there's change here, there's power here. That alarm goes off and it says, dude, you got to do something to heal this family. He sets his new wife down, he makes a 5-second decision. There were a million reasons not to do what he did. But he turned around, he walked back, he grabbed this man. That's a man he hates, that's Brittany's stepdad. Just look at the lady next to them, for crying out loud, you guys. And invited him to walk their daughter down the aisle. One decision changes everything. Just ask his family.
You want to be a travel blogger, it sounds like.
Yes, right.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Does that scare you?
Not at all. I'm pushing myself quite a lot. Even before my parents passed, I had the goal, okay, I want to make my illustration job and so on. But here's the thing.
Tell me the thing.
I'm doing this since, like I said, I mean, I draw for more years now, but I started the online business 2021. So
yeah.
And I'm not making that much income. Sometimes there are months where I'm making nothing. And that's totally fine because I'm at the beginning. I also have, that's also good to know, I have an Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I love making videos. I'm learning so much. I started TikTok. I have my homepage. I'm writing blog posts. Mel, I also wrote a blog post about you.
Oh. I'll have to read it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, because there's a huge theme here. You guys noticing the theme with everybody? You guys all have lots of stuff going on. And that's an important thing if you need to have a lot of stuff going on to make ends meet. Mm. And I love that you're saying that your illustrations and that store is at the very beginning of the process, and that's going to take time. That's true. But here's what I don't hear. What do you want your life to look like?
I want this to go pretty well. I want to be able, like I wrote, I want to be able to travel. And my goal is to make this happen next year. And
so what do you mean by travel? See, the other thing I'm going to keep pointing out to everybody is that before you can figure out the plan or the map to get where you want to go, you got to pick your head up and point at what you want. And the more specific the destination, the better. It is impossible to give you great guidance and coaching if I don't know exactly what you want. Because here's the thing, if you really wanted life where you travel, I can tell you 10 travel bloggers that you should follow. You can stalk their stories, and with your skills, you could probably be making money and doing that full time in a matter of 3 to 6 months. Because there are magazines that are looking for freelancers to do that. Once you get with one hotel, they connect you with another hotel. Once you start tagging people, cafes, it is one of those things that builds. You've told me you have no debt, that you have savings, that you have a job that is 12 hours a week that is not keeping you somewhere. So what do you actually want?
I know when I do this next year. So my first goal is to go to Japan again for 3 months.
Okay.
And I know that at my part-time job, they won't let me go and say, okay, it's unpaid vacation. And when you come back here, you can start again. So I know, okay, it's kind of.
So here's what's interesting. You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to push you a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Do you have, is that house that you're sitting in a place that you own that you have to pay for?
Nope, it's a flat. And it's the flat of my best friend. And I have to pay such less money.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Your whole life is organized around what's happening at this 12-hour week job.
Yes, exactly.
Do you know why I'm pointing that out?
No.
We are in the single best job market in 40 years.
What was my best job?
No. This is the best job market in 40 years. People cannot find people to work.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to tell you is that you're organizing your entire life around a part-time job.
I know where you're going.
Where am I going?
Yeah, I have the exact same thought. They are
no, but where am I going? Where am I going? I'm going to push you.
There are shitty jobs out there everywhere. I can.
There's a shitty job in Japan waiting for you.
Yeah, everywhere. I know. Yeah.
Your issue is courage.
Yeah. That's fun because courage is one of my things that I'm keeping pushing myself. Okay. Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah. That's right.
I have a feeling that you holding on to where you are has to do with grieving.
Grieving and maybe, okay, my because I have a partner and he also lives here. But I think we can maybe hopefully figure something out.
Elena?
Yeah.
Hope is for children on Christmas morning who hope that they're going to get a certain present. You are a 33-year-old brilliant woman who has taken control of her healing, who has figured out how to set up an entire business around your illustrations. You have paid off your debt. You have savings. We are no longer in a game of hope. We are in the business of creating a life that's amazing. And that begins the moment you wake up and go, what the fuck am I doing? I'm worried about this job. I am going to call a meeting tonight with my partner and I'm going to say, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are going to reinvent our lives. Fuck it. Let's figure out how to go to Japan for 3 months. Because this shitty job's going to be here and so is this flat when we decide we don't like it. And if I burn through my savings trying to figure something out because I can't figure out how to make that work, then I'll just save more money.
Yeah.
You have nothing to lose.
I'm writing courage big on
courage. And courage means action.
Yeah.
You're going to feel afraid, but this is the day.
No, that's normal growth.
You're not going to grow in that flat. And you're not going to grow next year. And I'm not going to allow you to wait another year.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I'm feeling. Every time I wake up, I'm doing my stuff and I'm doing quite a lot of stuff. And I wrote it also to you. Wait, let me point this out.
I saw it. I don't need this. You don't need that. I don't need this story. I don't care how much you're doing. You're doing the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
I'm fucking busy too. And for a long time, it was the wrong stuff, which is why I was miserable.
The only thing I felt, why I feel so, why I ask you if it's naive or so, because I'm not making that much income or not at all income now. This is
Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? So you're not making a lot of income, which only means if you stay in the place that you're in, you're going to stay trapped because you don't have enough income. You're not going to have enough income next year either.
Yeah.
Take a risk, live a little. You can come back to this.
Yeah. This was exactly what I was feeling the whole time. And
well, I hope this is exactly what you do.
Yeah.
Because feeling it, unless it activates action, you might as well just fart, because it doesn't do anything. Like, it just is like, you need to get frustrated and say, I'm done with this. I am sick of myself. In fact, let's pick a date right now. What day are you going to Japan or going to another country or quitting this job? Give me the day. Let's commit publicly right now. It's March 22nd.
March or April.
Give me a date. Let's pull the calendar.
Okay, let's say April the 1st.
April 1st? Hell yes. All right, great. You're going to keep us posted on where you're doing and what your plan is.
I will.
Will you put Glow Autonomo, her account, in the in Instagram? Thank you. She started travel blogging, I think 7 years ago. And really amazing woman, really good friend of mine, super inspiring.
Okay.
She'll give you tips. And I think on her YouTube channel, she's got all kinds of stuff about how to get started. She's killer.
I also haven't found an illustrator who does this, because I would love to incorporate both.
Listen, I think your ideas are incredible. Go do them.
Okay.
Here's an illustration. You ready?
Yeah.
Give us an illustration of the moment that you got off your ass and quit that job. And then give us an illustration of you buying the plane ticket. And then give us an illustration of how scared you are as you see the savings go down a little. And then give us an illustration of what your partner looks like when he's like, wait, what? We're going where? And then give us an illustration of your first day in Japan.
Yeah.
And then give us take us on the journey with you.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. You're awesome.
My name's Amber Parsons. I homeschool my children.
Yep.
And I want to, I also run a ceramic business, but I want to go into mental health and create an art therapy program.
Great. Here's what I love about you. Could you tell, as she was sharing that with us, that you were unsure about that?
Yeah. I'm really sure about what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it's like putting the words together to tell other people it.
What is the block?
I don't know exactly. Actually, the block for me getting there, I think, is I'm afraid, I just found out I have ADHD this year.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, but it's really relieving to find out that you have it.
Anybody else been diagnosed? Great, I'll speak about this in a minute. Okay, go ahead.
But my habits of my ADHD brain totally stop me sometimes.
Okay.
Get right in my way.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I think it's something deeper.
It's probably something deeper.
Yeah. I think that there's probably some mix, and I'm only saying this because you are homeschooling, so you're very dedicated to your kids and nurturing them, that there's probably some mix of it would be selfish or something, it would impact them negatively.
I want to do it I don't want to give up homeschooling.
Okay.
I think
nobody said you had to.
Right, exactly. But it's like trying to figure out, maybe convincing other people that I could do that.
Why do you have to convince anybody else?
I don't.
So how many of you are relating to this right now? That as everybody's kind of sharing what they're wanting and what they're struggling with, you see yourself. There's only one person that needs to feel inspired and convinced, and it's you. And you could take 11 years to do this.
because you could find a certification online. My husband got an MBA in 7 years. He went to one class a semester when we had young kids. And because that's all we could afford, and that's all we had time for with both of us working and having young kids. There's a million paths to getting what you want. You just have to find the confidence to be able to start and to say, this is what I'm doing. Doesn't matter if it takes a year, 10 years, 20 years, this is what I'm doing. And I'll tell you another reason to do it. Your kids learn by your example, not by your words. And so if you want your daughters and your sons or your kids that identify in any range of the spectrum to pursue their dreams and be themselves, you have to show them what that looks like. And so if mom is taking a Thursday night to go to an online course, you are demonstrating what it looks like to prioritize time for your dreams. You're demonstrating what it looks like to have values that align with your actions. And that will seep into the pores of your children. And so you're the only person that needs convincing.
Yeah.
Is there another layer to this that you see?
My husband probably wouldn't be on board with it.
Wouldn't?
I don't think so.
Why?
Because he's already successful.
So?
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you asked him?
Yeah.
And what did he say?
No.
Why? Why?
Because how would I homeschool the kids?
Well, you will show him how you're going to do it.
I do. I actually secretly under the table already look at it deeply, and that's how I know I'm gonna do it.
Right.
But yeah, just like do it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think that's important, but I think the bigger issue is why should you be supporting his dreams if he's not supporting yours?
That's true. Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
No,
I'm serious. You clearly have something that would make you come alive. He has a fear.
Yeah, not having control of all the things.
Maybe. Maybe he has a fear of losing you. Maybe he has a fear that the way that things are working, it's all going to fall apart. Maybe he thinks like everything has to happen like this, so he doesn't understand you're talking one class for 5 years on a Thursday night. But at some point, this also requires you to own your own happiness, because he's not responsible for it, you are. He's not responsible for your dreams, you are. And he's not responsible for getting on board with this. You're the one that needs to create the permission and then enroll people around you.
Yeah.
He doesn't get to choose, by the way.
That's true.
I'm serious.
I know that deep down inside.
Right?
Yeah.
So my concern is this, that when we don't have these conversations about the bigger issues of fear and control and my dreams, and that there's a way to do both, we end up doing things that feel sneaky and undermine trust. And so it's important that where you see that you can't be your authentic self, you start to have those conversations, because I want you to grow in your relationship. And there's a way for you to do that, even with somebody who's scared of you growing. But you have to be the one that leads the way. Okay?
All right.
I know it scares the hell out of you. Let me have this. Great job, by the way. Why has it been tough? You really love her. You're getting on a plane and you're going to go see her.
Yeah, I love her a bunch.
Okay.
So, I guess I'm kind of coming to the realization that I haven't been hearing her properly, connecting with her on the level that I should be. And now I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So a couple months ago, we've been having counseling. And,
That's good. My husband and I go to counseling.
It helps. She was doing it before, and then it kind of became the group, and then now I kind of see a little bit on my own. So I'm recognizing these things, but I also know like a couple of months ago in counseling, she admitted on her last tour that she had emotionally connected with somebody else. So obviously that put a big fire under my ass.
Yeah.
And
it's scary.
Supposedly I handled it really well, so she's wanting to, do all this. She's worked a lot on herself for kind of getting to the point where she's at. Yeah. She's got a spot on the bookshelf that's 12, 15 composition books deep of just thoughts ever since she was back, I think she said, to like 12.
Amazing.
So, because of some things that happened to her before that age of being taken advantage of. So she's had to do a lot of that.
This is serving as a final boarding class. The doors are closing in about 3 minutes, and they will not
doing this, you realize how much you need to work on yourself.
It's scary. And then a lot of regrets come up, and a lot of things you wish you could do over, and then you start to realize there's shit from your past that really messed with you, that you shoved down, that happened when you were a kid. This is, I think, the cycle that we all hit in adulthood. And here's the amazing opportunity. You not only have an amazing opportunity to change the person that you are and to change the relationship that you have with your life, but you have an amazing opportunity to change the relationship you have with yourself. Because your thoughts, your feelings, they actually matter too. And you can't get...
I've been neglecting.
Yes. See, relationships are amplifiers. You go into a relationship and you're not right with yourself, that relationship just magnifies what's missing. What did you just get from that?
I like that. Well, it's going to expose those demons more.
Yeah, and here's the thing that most men, at least in a traditional gender sense, don't understand. That it takes tremendous strength to be vulnerable. It takes tremendous strength to talk about the shit that's bothering you.
Yeah.
It takes tremendous strength to admit that you're wrong and to be scared. And that's actually what makes you connect more deeply to your partner. My husband of 25 years failed miserably in the restaurant business. Nearly bankrupted us. Lost it all. When he left the business, he was an alcoholic and completely lost and demoralized. And I did not know until recently, because it was through these rock bottom moments that my career took off. I invented this little thing called the 5-second rule that I used to get out of bed when the anxiety was so crushing. The only thing that would help me escape it was drinking myself into oblivion to numb it all out. And I started using this little brain hack to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, shut down the noise in my brain and launch myself forward through the fear, through the pain, through all of it. And my whole life turned around. Chris's life turned around. But I did not know until recently, when we've been in couples therapy, that the man has, for the last 8 years, just been beating the hell out of himself because he feels like he failed. He feels like he wasn't there for me. He feels like he didn't do his job providing.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. And then when your spouse starts to get successful and they start to find themselves, it gets very confronting. And so, what I want to tell you is that the opportunity to connect with her is through being open and through being calm. Like, go toward that shit. I'm proud of you.
I've been doing it, as you see.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. And you got to learn how to love yourself, regardless of what happened. Regardless of what you did or didn't do, regardless of all that, you got to learn how to look in the mirror and see a man who is worth rooting for and who is worthy of love. It is not too late to change this. It is not too late to change your life. It's not too late to change your marriage, but it's an inside-out job. You start to show yourself some kindness and some love, and you start sharing more of the stuff that's coming up for you, and that is the path that's going to actually heal you, and it's going to
stop.
Yes. Yeah.
So to speak. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just need my mojo back. I think that's what she mad at me. I had a nice swagger and everything, but it's gotten diluted or
by life.
I think so. Maybe my own just being stagnant. And
that's it.
Accepting instead of keep pushing.
You know, my good friend Joel Marin, who you should follow, just sent me a freaking thing that he wrote today.
Oh my God, Joel. Praise you, Joel. Joel, I cannot believe this. Joel Marin, I'll give you his name. He literally wrote me this whole thing that he wrote today that you need to hear. Wait till I'm going to find out. Marion. He wrote me this whole thing about the fact that when we are born, we have incredible potential, but so few of us realize what we're capable of. And he uses this analogy. This is in your DNA. You were created to be a Lamborghini in life. You have literally everything inside you to be able to perform like that Lambo. You're manufactured that way. That engine, 729 horsepower engine, is in there. That insane torque. You have unbelievable intrinsic ability to go from 0 to 65 miles per hour in under 3 seconds. But for most of us, we never experience close to those numbers that we were created to perform at. And so he tells a story about how he was test driving one, but the neighborhood he's in has like 35 mile per hour speed limit.
Okay.
He ended up not buying it because he never experienced the potential.
Right.
What you're talking about is you're talking about the fact that you actually know there is that inside of you. And when you lose your capacity that you were built in, and you stop growing, and you stop stretching yourself, and you stop pushing yourself forward and learning new stuff and expressing yourself, something inside you starts to feel like it's dying.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you,
that engine.
yes, it's still there. And the reason why it's still there is because you miss it. And you can only miss something you know.
Okay.
So I think Joel sent me that for a reason. In times of my life when I felt lost or stagnant, I say I feel like a racehorse tied to a pony ride at a kid's birthday party. Like I am built to fucking run.
Yeah.
And I hate it when I feel like just tied down like that.
Yeah.
And so there is something inside you that you've been holding back. What do you think it is? Well, I would take on a challenge.
I'm not sure if it's a passion that I've ever tapped into or something that I've missed since, earlier years.
Who knows? I think you should take on a challenge. I think you should take on climbing some mountain or some kind of race or some fitness thing, something that's a little out of your comfort zone to give you something to push you. It doesn't have to be the perfect thing. Just something that you're up to is enough.
Yeah.
But I want to acknowledge you for the fact that you recognize that there's an issue and you're taking the steps to go make the effort. You're getting on a plane, you're flying to surprise your wife.
Not only that, but I deal with motion sickness, vertigo, and
awesome.
And I don't drive well at night, so I've got the bands on.
Great, they work.
I took my motion sickness pills.
I love that. I give you a high five for that. That's fantastic.
We're doing what we can.
You're doing it. Then does she know you? She doesn't know you're coming.
She does now.
Oh, good.
She didn't a couple days ago, but then we were trying to do the pregnancy reveal to some of the family because we just found out last week.
Congratulations!
So she was all like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. You're there, I'm here, and I want to video chat my family and be able to tell them because she's up where some of the family is and she was seeing someone were coming to visit. So I told her, I'll tell you what, well, I'm actually coming up there. So she was pretty surprised, but
That's awesome. You're going to be an awesome dad. You want to know who the best dads are?
Yeah.
The ones who are actually right with themselves.
That's true.
The ones who are able to talk about their emotions. The ones who are able to be human.
This is my second child. This is her first, but I told them, my son's almost 23.
That's amazing.
So to start over, it's it's been a lot of emotion.
You're not going to start over. You actually are building upon.
Okay. And my son's been great. He's guys would be super impressed with how good my son is. He hasn't seen his mom since he was 6 years old, so I kind of raised him on my own. I mean, there's people in and out of the life, but yeah.
You got a moment in your life to make yourself really proud of yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And if I were a betting woman, some days I am, depends how much liquor I make, I'd place my bet on you.
That's what I'd like. I want that more than anything.
Don't wish for it. Don't want it.
And my wife deserves it.
Do the work. No, hold on.
What? Go ahead.
You deserve it.
I deserve it. Okay.
Give yourself what you're seeking from other people. Seek redemption and forgiveness because you deserve it from yourself. And in my book, forgiveness means that you have stopped wishing things could be different. Accept everything that's happened or didn't happen as a lesson. And as long as you hold on to that shit from the past, you're actually still there.
Yeah.
What'd you get out of this?
I got a little more resiliency, a little pick-me-up, and I'm glad I came and talked to you very much and took the time. I wasn't sure if I was imposing because I didn't know if it was more like a female thing, but I have plenty of emotion that I'm pretty open with. Sometimes too open, maybe.
I don't think so. I'm also going to introduce you to my husband. So he created a men's group a men's retreat called Soul Degree, where he takes guys out into the woods for 5 days to actually have these kinds of conversations. And he's had guys from 22 to 60 plus, multiple tours of duty, professional athletes, regular, just everyday folks like all of us. And it's remarkable. And what he also does, because he only does these a couple times a year, is he also has calls every month where it's guys get on and he leads a meditation, and then there's a topic that y'all discuss, and it's really freaking cool. And so I will make sure that you have his information, and I will get both of your email addresses, and I will have my team email you a credit so you can listen to one of my books on Audible.
That's what's cool. I've been doing a lot more trying to listen to stuff, and you know, you just don't know what direction to go because some stuff is just, some people just want to make some money on you, and you know, there's so much out there. You just want to find the right path.
Yeah.
As best as possible.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Thank you.
I have followed the personal development world for a really long time, and you have just inspired me to continue on my path of entrepreneurship that has taken away my doubt, the fear, the anxiety, the negative self-talk, all of those things. So I follow a lot of the personal development people, and yours has stuck the most with me. Has actually resonated and it actually has worked.
Why do you think that is?
Because, that's a great question.
Hold my hands because I can see your shape.
I am. I think you're just real about it. There's no sugarcoating it. You connect with it. It's not where you're telling us to not say do things, but the other personal development people tell you to dream big and you think these things, but it's the taking that blockage away. Okay, I want to dream to go have a house in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I'm okay, well, I'm still blocking that in my way. So I have to think about reframing my mind and all those things and how to do it.
Yeah.
And you have taught me how to do it. So I have 6 mantras that I say every morning that you have taught me.
What are they?
Well,
I need them.
Well, they're yours.
What are my 6 mantras that move the most for you?
So every single day, the first I say is, the world needs my story.
Yes.
I say my next chapter is just beginning.
Yes.
I say I'm growing every day.
Yes.
I say every day I'm getting stronger.
Yes.
I say what's meant for me is trying to find me.
Yes.
Which is my absolute favorite one because I had a hard time comparing myself to other people in my industry and been oh gosh, the right people aren't going to come.
What is your industry?
So I'm a professional home organizer.
Fabulous.
And so I'm everyone else is, I'm not getting the clients I want or this and that, but that one was huge.
You traveled here for this event.
Yes.
I've heard about you. Yes. I heard that you traveled here out of state to come.
I came from Charlotte.
Yes, from Charlotte to Fargo.
Yes. Well, I'm originally from Fargo.
Okay.
So this is my
But still, you traveled, so I'm going to give you credit for that. You get a high five for traveling that far.
Yes, the high five. So that, and then I'm committed to my financial freedom. And then another one that I did from meditation is abundance flows to me and abundance flows through me.
Yes.
So those are what you have taught me, and they've helped me, and I say them every day, and it has helped my mindset more than I can tenfold ever thank you for.
And you're welcome. Thank you for trying it. Because I often think that the reason why the things that I'm talking about work is because they're so damn simple.
They are.
And sometimes they sound so stupid, especially when the problems are big or the goals are big.
Yes.
But when it's simple, you can remember it. And in a moment of doubt or fear, you can apply it.
100%.
And when you use one of those 6 reframes, it removes the thinking that's keeping you from taking the actions.
100%.
Because the simple secret is this. If you know what you want, what you have to do is bring yourself back to the present moment and just align your thoughts and action with the thing that you want. So imagine the person in Hawaii, imagine the organizing business, and you've got your millions of followers and your HGTV show, or maybe you're on the Magnolia Network. I don't know, maybe that's your dream, or maybe you're doing a YouTube show, right? So you have a dream and you give yourself permission to have the dream, and then you say, okay, well, here I am today on a Tuesday, and I'm standing in my current life. How do I think like the person who has what I want? And what's the one action I could take today that aligns with turning my life toward the thing that's meant for me? And so I'm so proud of you because you are allowing yourself to hear your heart's desire and you are pushing yourself to walk toward it every single day. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
So
awesome. What's blocking you currently?
Well, see...
Yeah, that one. Yeah, what is it?
A whole list of questions. So, like, what's blocking me currently, like, with the realm and my space in that world. So, like, everyone knows the names of, like, the UNMOTIVATED, Marie Kondo, and I love them. I respect them.
Right.
And I'm like, how do I move my mind frame of my limitations, thinking they have made it so big and so far. Like, I want to get there, but like, I don't even know how to take that away to get my mindset around thinking. I can get to that level.
Right.
Like, how do I get there without feeling like a copycat, but also like knowing that it's possible because they're doing it.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm stuck right there.
Got it. So you're stuck in comparison.
100%.
And the people that are ahead of you on the path that you're walking down are making you invalidate yourself.
Totally.
Great. No, not great. Not great. Not great. But this is normal.
Yeah.
Okay. It's normal.
Okay.
It's normal. So one of the reasons why our brain sees everybody that's ahead of us as competition is it's trying to protect you from taking any kind of risks.
Yes.
Normal for your brain to do this. This is where reframes are critical. I also want to tell you, I struggle with the same thing. I am launching a brand new podcast show in October. All I see around me are the 2 million shows out there, the bigger ones, the this, the that, the other thing. And if I look at them as being ahead of me, I immediately go, why am I even doing this?
100%.
Yes. Okay, so here's how you're going to reframe this.
Okay.
You have to say, they are a light on the path.
Okay.
They're a light on the path I'm walking down.
Yep.
They are showing me it's possible. That's number one.
Yes.
Number two, there is no copying because there are no original ideas. Seriously.
Right.
I want you to be inspired. You're not copying, you're inspired by what they're doing.
Right.
Okay? And when you look at a pantry, if you're inspired by what Marie Kondo does or the Home Edit does, you are going to look at the pantry and take that inspiration and do it your way.
Right.
So do not invalidate the fact that your dreams and these people that are showing up are actually trying to get you to feel inspired again.
Okay.
Your doubt and your fear is blocking the inspiration. By calling it I'm copying them, you're demeaning the fact that your dreams are getting stirred up.
Right.
Your inspiration is going.
Right.
So you got to keep walking toward that. Okay, that's number two.
Okay.
Number three, you may never get there. You may be way bigger. You might.
That's true. Okay.
You might.
Okay.
You might.
Yeah.
And you also are so lucky because you can study everything that they did.
True.
And then you can take the step that they took and you can go, oh, this feels right for me.
Right.
Or you can take the step they took and go, ew, I wouldn't do it that way.
Sure.
I'm going to do it this way.
Okay.
And so literally use their path to test out ways to try this.
Okay.
Because the thing is, you're going to build your business your way.
Right.
It is a gift
Right.
that other people, you know what I'm doing right now? 4 months ahead of launching my own podcast. I am stalking every podcast person. I am listening to their opening episodes. I am studying what they do.
Okay.
I am practicing, and I'm trying to figure out what feels right for me by following what other people have done.
Okay.
It's impossible for you to be somebody else.
Right. Absolutely.
But in trying and practicing and being inspired by other people, you are going to build the skills and the muscle to find the courage to put your own spin on it.
Okay.
You got it?
I got it.
Okay, good.
I'm going to do it.
And now here's the other thing. It's not a freaking race.
Okay.
Please play the long game.
Okay.
Please do this because you love organizing.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me why you love organizing.
Well, a lot of reasons. One, I just love being able to help people. I can see it like there, but I also know from ADHD standpoint, like my history with school was so hard. And like that's, I wouldn't say like my scarring moment, but I had to be organized. I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because I would have failed out of school.
Yeah.
And I wanted to achieve. So it's like, it has got me to where I am today because of that.
Yeah.
So that's why I love it. I see people so frustrated, and I always thought everyone knew how to do it.
So this is perfect. That's the long game.
Okay.
You're not addicted to organizing a pantry. You're addicted to that moment where somebody has a breakthrough in what life could be like if they're organized.
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Stay attached to that.
Okay.
Play the long game.
Okay.
It won't ever matter how much money you make or how many followers you have or what product deals you make.
Yes.
Because you'll stay attached to the heart and soul of why you're doing this.
Okay.
Got it?
I got it.
Good. Awesome. Go get them. Go get them. I'm so proud of you. Over here, one more. Yes. What's your name?
Delaney.
Hi, Delaney.
Hi. I wanted to start off by saying I listened to your segment with Alex, to those feeling lost in your 20s.
Oh, yeah, she's talking about call her daddy.
You can't call me out like that at work.
Yes, you can. Girl, that is the #1 female-hosted podcast in the world.
Yeah. But I wanted to say, you said earlier in terms of the 5-second rule, the easiest part is knowing what you need to do. I feel like I've been a little overwhelmed lately. What would you say, or the biggest piece of advice when you don't know what you need to do before you save 5 seconds?
Are you talking about work, or are you talking about life in general, or?
I think all of the above, right?
Okay, great question. How many can relate to this? Excellent. Okay, so when it comes to work, a really great habit to get into, especially as y'all are making this big turn, is try to have a quick alignment meeting with the person you report to every Monday. And just go over what's on your plate and recheck in about what are the strategic objectives for this week so that you're aligned with what the person who you're reporting to. Because I'll give everybody the super simple secret other than visibility for being a rock star at work. Make your boss's life easier. Literally, you make the person that you report to's life easier because you're getting stuff done and you're solving problems. And here's the most important thing, you're communicating about what's getting done. You literally are a superstar because your boss is just as overwhelmed as you are. And so if you just touch base, even if you can't get a meeting and you send the 17 things on your plate and you say, I'm a little overwhelmed, I just want to make sure that I know what the priority is this week. Because it is changing all the time because they're responding as much as you are. That's #1. #2, at the end of the week on Fridays, send a short email saying this got done, this got done, this got done, this got done, this got done. And here are the things I'm going to need your help with on Monday. You keep somebody in the loop like that, they will help you create rails that keep you very focused and feeling more sure about what you're working on, okay? So that's #1, ask for help. Do not try to figure that out on your own. #2, when it comes to feeling lost in life and overwhelmed in life, always go back to your morning routine. Always go back to your morning routine. And there are 2 rules that I have for my morning routine. Everybody hates them. Nobody follows them. It changes your life. #1, do not sleep with your phone. Do not sleep with your phone. And the reason why I say do not sleep with your phone is because we're all addicted to it. If you were addicted to cocaine or alcohol, you wouldn't put it on your bedside table. But, you know, you literally go to bed, and then before you're even out of bed, you literally doing this. And you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And like, if you're laying in bed reading work emails or looking at Facebook, you literally just let your boss, sorry, Tia, and all of your friends on Facebook walk in your bedroom. And more importantly, you let the world hijack your mind. So before you're even vertical, you are stressed out, overwhelmed. That one change, which you're not going to want to do, will solve the problem of overwhelm. And here's what I do. I plug my phone into the bathroom every night because it solves two problems. Number one, when that alarm goes off, now I'm really screwed because it's not next to me. So I have to get out of bed. Number two, the phone's not there. So as I wake up and I walk to the bathroom, I'm so mad at myself. But by the time I get to the bathroom, I'm now awake enough that I can turn the alarm off and flip the phone over. I don't pick it up. I don't do it. Even if I post things in the morning, I do that after I take 30 minutes for myself. What do I do in those 30 minutes? Well, I do all the stuff that you know that makes you feel better. I literally journal for a second. I move my body. This is a life changer. If you literally just work out for 10 minutes in the morning, it can be enough. I eat something healthy. I have a cup of coffee. I set my intention for the day. I think about the one thing I want to make progress on. And only then do I then pick up that phone. Then I let the world in. And by getting myself right with myself and setting myself up and giving myself 30 lousy freaking minutes to start the day, to clear my head, to think about what I want out of the day, to take care of myself just a little bit, now I'm in a better place. Now I'm able to do it. And then there's one more exercise. It's kind of a spin on the person you want to be. So my daughter's 23 and had a really rough time with COVID. The last 2 years of her college imploded because of COVID. And she left college basically depressed, really unhealthy, drinking way too much. And she had a meltdown. And so she said, I sat down with her and my husband, and we just were talking with her, and I said, here's what I want you to do. If you ever feel overwhelmed or lost, I want you to draw a line down the center of a paper, and I want you to think back, when was a moment in my life where I felt happy, and I felt like I was happy about where my life was headed? And so my daughter said, senior year in high school. And I said, great, what were you doing then? What was life like then? She's like, well, I was getting up early, I was going to school, I saw my friends every day, I was playing lacrosse, so I exercised 6 days a week, I was only drinking 2 nights a week, I had something to look forward to. I'm like, great, now let's write down what your life looks like right now. Oh, I'm sleeping till noon, my friends have all left and started their lives, I drink every day, I'm not exercising. I'm like, great, compare the lists. You are wired for happiness. You're wired for clarity. You are wired for success. It's why you miss it when you don't have it. You can only miss something you know. The answers are in there. And so like we've said with a lot of the things, even though it's overwhelming, there are ways, simple ways that you can solve this. Go to your boss, start getting aligned, get direction, and then do what they tell you to do. That'll give you the structure right there. Ask for help always. Second thing is, go inside and take a look at what your habits looked like and your days looked like when you felt a little bit more in control, when you felt like yourself, and then compare with what you're doing now. Come back to your morning routine, and you will set yourself up to have a day that feels like you're in control, and that'll change everything. That was a great question. Hi, you did it!
Yes.
You did it!
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My friend group, we're big fans.
Awesome.
Especially we're transitioning just out of college right now. So, yeah, your podcast with Alex was great timing for me.
What did you get out of that conversation that I had with Alex?
I got, especially the relationship one. I don't know how you said it, but kind of, I need to fix who I am first, because like a relationship's kind of like a mirror of what you're feeling in a way.
Even worse, a relationship amplifies what you're feeling.
Yeah.
So if you go after that person and you're feeling insecure, and so you're chasing that person that's the hot guy, and if he only or she or even if the person ends up being with you, you're actually going to feel insecure because you didn't enter the relationship feeling good about yourself. So you're 1,000% right. Work on yourself first, because then you bring that to every relationship, and then the relationship is just additive to you versus amplifying the crap that you're trying to run from. And I only know that after really screwing things up in my 20s and 30s. Like, literally disaster. I would attach myself to people in order to prove that I was okay. And it just made me feel worse about myself because I needed them to feel okay. So when the relationship broke up, I crumbled.
Well, thank you. Can we get a picture?
Of course we can. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.